who I can't go back to. Walking through all the
Hello. Hello. We are back. How's yous? फिर मैं क्या चैनल देख रहा था.
For DRX at least.
चलो भाई, वेट इसलिए है कि मेरे को दिखाने का नहीं था कि DRX आ रही है, PRX आ रही है, वो दिखाने का.
We're so familiar since 2023. Basically, after lock-in, we were just talking about they bombed out of lock-in. You know, they switched Binks high, they brought in something, and then they looked phenomenal. Made it really far through into LA champs, making to that grand finals. But ever since then, they've always made it to international events. And feels like last year. But now they
same team
and make their first international event, and surely they're looking for their comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can go one of two ways, right? If you don't make that international event, the first way is, you know, it's going to be a big boost to them going, we need to get it fixed, or it can be a crumbling sort of sensation where it's like, oh no, it's all fallen apart. So we'll have to see how it ends up today.
I was hoping they were going to fight. I don't know if you guys saw that. The AI situation. But sorry, go
ahead.
Bhai,
kya scene hai?
I'm hoping that PaperX going out in kickoff, like you've already had some kind of rumblings of like some inconsistency for a long time before that. I'm hoping that them going out in kickoff like that is going to be their crisis moment that actually lights a fire under them and is going to push them to do a whole lot better. And like I said, I mean, especially looking at this map pool, I'm not really sure what to expect because for Haven, I mean, it's not something PRX has played since the off-season. They hadn't had a lot of reps on it. Icebox is coming out of left field back into the map pool, and we haven't seen either of these teams play that since Champs last year. Many months now. And then Lotus getting some reps for both of these teams in kickoff. I mean, a promising one for PRX as well, although that was over Zeta.
I think this is going to be a really interesting redo of all three of these maps. Now that we know DRX is great with the Tejo, but Waylay is in.
भाई मेरे को लग रहा है बहुत मारेंगे. मेरे को एक बात बताओ. सिर्फ मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है साल जाते जा रहे हैं और 4 सेकंड भाई रिवर्स गियर में यंग होते जा रहे हैं. हाँ क्या है बे स्किन केयर रूटीन?
Teams doing it. We know DRX try and push the meta, but not
Hello,
today. Not in this game, at least.
Yoru is back for PaperX on Haven.
This is the opposite of what I expected. PRX are almost kind of playing what DRX were playing over in Masters. Very similar looking comp, but DRX are double duelisting with flashback on the Neon. Wait, is this right?
Nah,
Can this be right?
PRX
instead of Teo, flashbacks on a duelist, and Hyunmin's on Jet. They're double duelisting against PRX, who used to play double duelist.
Honestly, it looks like it's wrong. It looks like these two compositions
way around.
Also, Jing and Mindfreak have swapped roles. Mind is the Sentinel. Jing is on Omen. Okay, this is absolutely insane, and we are going to have to toss as their casters, and this is very exciting also, because we have a new voice here at BCT Pacific. More representation from Oceania. We've got Komodo, welcome. He's casting together with Quack.
That's right, thank you very much, Victoria. Yes, we do have a new voice on the desk this time. Komodo, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and I think coming in towards this is not what I expected. I don't think this timeline is what anybody expected for this agent composition that we have been delivered for this series.
It's just so strange, right? I mean, it is a little bit familiar just having these two teams, but the fact that they've kind of swapped roles now, it's PaperX with something slightly more meta, but there is a Yoru in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I look towards these comps, and I'm a little bit sad that we're not going to be seeing Freeing back on the Tejo. I think he was really good on that. But going back towards Cypher is something that he's been so proficient on as well. I think more interestingly, for me, flashback on a Neon, that raises a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still kind of going along that theme of like putting your previous Sentinel, the one with better aims, onto the duelist roles, but how that's all going to play out, how is this matchup going to turn out? It's a very interesting thing to think about, but I feel regardless of the outcome, we can definitely expect a very exciting match coming up soon.
I hope so. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this does deliver towards 3 maps in this series. We've got reigning champs DRX. Don't forget that, you know, you got to mention that when we're getting in towards this series as well. And for PRX, who bowed out decently early over at kickoff, this is a bit of a resurgence time for them.
You know, fans have been wondering, when will PaperX play? When will PaperX possibly even win again? all those questions will be answered starting right now as they move on out straight in towards A lobby.
Well, it's good to see and they're not scared, already taking space over towards A lobby. That you got to be a little bit careful you don't take it too carefully, but yeah, look, that's not what I expect.
Quickly flooding through, right? Break off the smokes, and it's Jing in with the classics as well. Able to kind of deadfall all the way through now, and that is a very open A side.
Hello.
A little bit at its finest, a little bit delayed from the beginning, but you do like to see that they're all holding hands. Get that spike plant down and see what Marco and Freeing going to be able to do just in a retake. It's going to be difficult. Jing, mind frame a little bit low.
Well, Paranoia still in his pocket though for Jing, so he has a bit of an opportunity, but not quite the info. So just tucked away inside the pocket. Mind Freak possibly holding the angle for information. Right there it is, Jing. Does he swap to the utility? Not quite just yet. Mako still trying to get a little bit more space, but dives to the right click within close range. Freeing now. Lost in alone. It's going to be the entire swarm. Divide to finish it off.
Flawless bolt.
Yeah, absolutely flawless to come out from them. You do like to see that one, especially just able to kind of squander the very beginning attempts of DRX. I don't mind the idea, right? You want to go for a little bit of A-lobby control. It's pretty standard to get that dark cover deep and then split it out through sewers and long. Just a little bit of ill timing when you do go in towards the smoke, and from there, it's just a barrel roll straight down. Everybody on Paper X getting active, taking space towards the side, hitting their shots as well. Coming away with a pistol is going to be really complicated.
Of course, though, Komodo. I mean, this is kind of where we're wondering how the composition will play out. It just wasn't just around, but has you can see why DRX tried to get aggressive.
And now you're just going back on towards fundamentals and what to do on an anti-eco round. DRX takes space over at C-Long. Sometimes the game last time. Now all the information is kind of up for Bane. If you can get away with one, hey, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but at the same time, Clone's already been broken. Forsaken towards the back of the side, clears out everything. Something will be able to get that entry. The rest of the team has arrived nearby, but are those pistols going to be enough?
Decide if you want to go for this retake at all and give away any more ulti orbs to PRX2. Have everything you want towards your next gun round.
A little bit of a progression smoking out from Mako, trying to possibly bait Paper X into peeking a little bit further, and they are getting pretty close to it.
Yeah, just playing by the numbers at the moment.
Fault line as well, but there we go. Freeing will be able to walk away with at least one. Jing hangs back. Forsaken in with a stinger as well. Close range with two guns next to each other. Mako continues to crouch down with the right click though, but Jing will make quick work of that. There it is. 3 kills in the round for the guy on his new role as a controller. Also Paper X keeping these weapons over on the next round.
Yeah, taking 3 of them in towards the bonus as well is going to be alright for them. You start to build up a little bit more from the shadows from Jing. Didn't think I'd ever say from the shadows for Jing playing on an Omen. But hey, some good damage all in all to come out from DRX, but most importantly, bonus conversion, right? That's where we want to see them get active in towards the server. Haven was picked for a reason.
And you can start to see those old flavors of the old Paper X as well now coming through. I mean, it is the first 2 rounds, but they have been confidently strutting their way down A. This time, starting things off a little bit different.
Yeah, pretty spread default across the map for DRX. Already the normal fundamentals of how you want to go about garage control as well. Just the how do you do before he gets out. And I like the attempt as well. Just back, leaning on some utility towards the A site. Flashback. I mean, if he gets one, he gets out. Yeah, that's an option. But
एक के एंगल्स खाली करना पड़ेगा. साइड एग्जीक्यूट में तो डायरेक्ट घुस
जाएंगे. For Paper X.
At least they do have information hearing off of that gate crash audio tell. Mako continuing to push up even further too, so that's even more information. DRX have already rotated over onto the safe side.
Devi is in a position to kind of look after that though if the trap is broken, but never mind, I say that. He is caught looking the wrong way. Bane finds Forsaken as well, and this is going perfect so far for DRX.
Var going up against the Omen, of course, so it's Mako just trying to hold down the back lines. Paper X has to now watch out for their backs. They're even getting hit by the flash. A secondary smoke coming through, and it forces Mike to push on. He does get one, but Bane makes it a trade. Jing in for another trade as well. The spike's on the ground. Paper X wants to pick it up. Something dives right in. It's down to the one-on-one. Pulls the angle, but something swings.
That's awesome for Paper X. They'd be absolutely happy with converting a bonus round like that. When you think that the beginning is working so good for DRX as well. Great recognition from Marco that he can push through grass, can get a bit of a flank happening, Divine not looking the right way, you get another kill to come out from Bane, but then you kind of give up your hand just a little bit too much. A 3 versus 5 conversion rate to come here. A little bit unfortunate for DRX as well, but for PaperX, not being scared when they're in a deficit position. They're taking these fights, they're going back to what they can rely upon. Their aim, their ambition, it's working nicely.
You gotta love it. You love to see those smiles and those fist bumps coming out once again, but here we go back into it, knowing they're up against an anti-eco round.
Ooh.
It's just DRX trying to march forward, trying to get at least one weapon away. The spray's coming through, though. Ooh.
Yeah, good fault line. It's a little bit awkward for Flashback in
ना
that.
मान
Again,
रहा
just to highlight, this is one of these eco rounds to come through from
ना मान
DRX,
रहा
of course, with that bonus round not going their way. So it's just about having a bit of a conversation. What can you figure out at the moment? What are PaperX doing around the map? And this time they do change it up. They don't just look to go towards the A site. It's over towards C. Not seeing too much here for DRX.
It's still going to be Hyunmin alone, though, so easy pickings now. Forsaken swaps over onto the Ghost as well. Finds Mako.
flawless.
PaperX, flawless run thus far.
भाई पुराना
And they don't
PRX
look to
दिख
be
रहा है
slowed
क्या?
down anytime soon.
Yeah. Absolutely the start that you do want to see, and now you start to build up a couple of these ultimates as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a timeout to come out too soon for DRX.
भाई
I mean,
उन लोग का मैप
you
पिक
don't
है
win the pistol, you don't win the bonus round. If you don't win your next gun round, I mean, you start to question a little bit, are PRX playing our composition better?
It does feel that way, doesn't it? I mean, you got the tail in the breach, but we're not seeing too much of that just yet either. It's just the fact that they've been sticking
लगा दी
together
नजर
for
भाई नहीं भाई
majority
ये
of the
गलत
rounds. And with
गलत
that,
खेल
they're
रहे
able
भाई
to
वो
pick
राउंड नहीं
DRX
जीतना था
apart. Now moving forward though, this is the
वो
first
राउंड
time that
कोई
we're
भी
seeing
एंगल
them
से नहीं
head
जीतना
down
था
this B lane. Makes the trip from the shadows towards the back.
Don't forget there's an operator down the sewers as well for Hyunmin, so he can send Flashback away to try and help out with the rest of the squad, but the reposition at the moment actually for Jing, he's in the back lines and they have no idea. Again, Forsaken Jing just getting active around the map. That kind of might even be the round in and of itself, Quack.
And that truly has broken a lot of
must
DRX's
have a Mako
defensive
though.
lines. Mako trying to find something. Will be able to get a double, but something makes it a trade. Bane now
जिनको देखो
flooding
बे
back into the
जिनको
site
देखो
is working alongside Hyunmin. But look at how PaperX are positioned. Divide in for the straight and now looks onto the next. Something with the assistance coming out from window, and PaperX will make it a quick 5-0 right now.
It looks so good from PRX
Dodge
as well,
symbol,
splitting
babe.
around the map, making sure that they're trying to throw a bit of a spanner in the works to where DRX are trying to look. A great reposition from Jing as well. You could just see none the wiser were DRX, and you're going towards a retake
ऐसा
scenario
नहीं
where
लग रहा है कि
you know,
लोग
5
में से
versus 3, some brilliance from
duelist
Marco,
करके
don't get me wrong, but when you're looking down the barrel of a Taylor who's still
में
alive, they've still got salvos, you've got the special
Volume
delivery
full
still
है,
as well,
volume
and
full
you're
है.
a lonely jet with some cloud bursts, you're not really going to be able to get a defuse like that. So back to the drawing board for DRX, but with no timeout, just an eco round to have here. PRX gonna start their hand a little bit differently, spawning out,
looking
freeing.
clean today
He's
भाई
by
पूरा
himself at
टीम
the
क्लीन
moment.
दिख रहा है
Marco,
भाई
bit of utility in towards the garage, of course, can send out the smokes, can send out a paranoia if they
जैसा
want to go for a bit of
हो
a
रहा है
challenge,
एक
but
दूसरे के
all in
मैप
all,
पे डोमिनेट
bit of a slower start for PaperX here.
Certainly.
मेरे को लगता है ना
Just trying to throw
मेरे को
off
लगता है बहुत
some of
practice किया
DRX's
है भाई
possible reads. We did have Flashback
वो
marching
लोग
a
को
little bit
दिमाग हट
closer
गया
up
कि
towards A
क्वालिफिकेशन
short,
नहीं हुए
but
करके
seeing or sensing a bit of danger, he does fall back. Of course, though, DRX are on those pistols.
It's very wise from PaperX at the moment, actually, in
Oh
how they're
my
navigating
God.
around the map.
भाई
Making sure they're doing it in
क्या
pairs a little bit,
तो
not
क्या
being
हो
too
गया
overzealous,
इसको
not trying to just stretch in towards territory
क्या
that
हो
they
गया
don't
भाई
own.
It's kind of strange to say
एक
to
टाइम
see
पे
this
लोग
from PaperX.
स्पैम
Isn't it,
करते
Kimona?
थे
Yeah.
They're showing off different looks. They're slowing
मैन
down
फ्रिक
the pace. It causes
भाई के लोग
DRX
कितना
to
अच्छा
question
कर
what's
रहे हैं
going on.
मैन फ्रिक
And then a curious Bane looks
क्या
up
मार
front,
रहा
gets
है
picked off by Forsaken. Now the smokes are out. Got utility just to clear out the side as well. Flashback tries to get ahead of it, but the fake gate crash does get ahead of him as well. Forsaken, 2 kills thus far.
Yeah, you're just trying to find what you can in this round for PaperX and build up your economy even more so up towards that max 9,000 credit mark, really. Just again, these pistols for DRX to try and do some sort of damage, if at all possible, and it's not going to be. A flawless round again to come through from PaperX.
And they've been
Team
holding on to
flawless.
that outlaw for quite a while, haven't they?
Team.
Something still working on alongside it. I mean, it is against the eco of DRX, so why not keep that to punish them? but at the same time, DRX scrambling for something. I just have to imagine CHUMMI somewhere shaking his head right now.
Yeah, I mean, I see what Bane's trying to do there. You're always going to be a little bit incentivized to try and bring something back for your team. Even on an eco round, you know, you're not got too much to lose if you're already picking up towards your ults, and you'll take an ult point if you do lose your life. But I think more importantly, this is the round that you have to see something for DRX, and a lot of ultimates available as well. PRX going to change it up, get information off the dimensional drift.
Yeah. And that is definitely one way to stay ahead of the game. Info gained as well, and that's the salvos just to try to displace Hyunmin, but he manages to stay alive. Shuts down for a second with that operator of his, and that blocks off the B site.
It is an opening pick for DRX, but don't get me wrong. They have lost it from advantage position so far in this map, so it's going to be a bit of a reset on the back of utility.
Just to continue to poke and prod around the B site for now. There is a trip ahead of Mindfreak, and he will break that as well.
Yeah, no real space forward anywhere from DRX as well. Free position back towards the C site. You tap on towards your cam for freeing. That's a little bit deep through towards C long. You do have Marco spotting over towards A, but he is by himself. He doesn't need to play here too aggressively, and that's why you lose your smokes, you lose your advantage. And now things start to look a little bit scurrysome around the map. More rotations in towards Garage. You got to re-pick up some information. Rolling Thunder to get in towards a position here, but Hungry is flashback and he falters.
They actually hold back. And there it is. You mentioned the Rolling Thunder, and they could very well be setting up for it right now.
Neural Theft in, that's all the information that you want. Rolling Thunder does go towards the C side. You got the Armageddon too.
And there it goes. Definitely keeping them trapped in. It does take away Freeing's life. Something in with the next in Mindfreak. Guns down Hyunmin. Paper Rex look nigh unstoppable right now.
Usually we associate calm, collective, calculated plays from DRX, but we're getting that from Paper Rex at the moment. The team that you generally in history don't know what's going to be thrown your way. This is a massive revitalization for this squad.
And I would say, you know, you're not quite sure what's going your way. That's exactly how DRX are feeling right now, Komodo.
Yeah. I mean, I was questioning a little bit in the beginning of this map, right? What was this Neon going to look like from Flashback, who is a player who generally, you know, has to play around a site himself. He's very proficient with the utility, peeking on the back of it. You have to be self-sufficient when you're playing on towards those Sentinel agents, right? At the moment, I'm not getting a sense of, I'm the duelist. I'm working with my team who can set me up with some utility to go in for the fight. We've seen a little bit of Hyunmin and him, you know, going around skilling sewers and A-long and everything and going for it, but no setups really from the utility, because you look towards it, unless you're getting a paranoia from Marco or some sort of darts or drone from Bane, it's very difficult to get set up.
Exactly. You don't have that breach. You don't have maybe even a Teo. So it is a little bit tough, but you have been given this duelist role. You need to make something work with it. I have to imagine, given how the first few rounds have played out, DRX are feeling some of those like self-doubt moments, and that's why it hasn't been going too well. So hopefully this time out will bring them back into the game, especially considering the fact that they're sitting on 5 ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, is 7 rounds enough tape here in this map for CHUMMI to get a good idea on what they need to do to at least stabilize in this first half, go over towards your own attacking side, where you actually have looked pretty destructive on that side in recent history. Yeah, it's cheeky.
Yeah, very cheeky position, especially with the cage kind of concealing his movements. Might have heard something, so Hyunmin will stay disciplined, avoids that angle. The rest of the team, though, back into B.
And another eco round to come through from DRX, where Paper Rex are taking it patient. They're not playing their hand, getting too hungry for anything, just playing together, collective.
Very careful. This is a team that has had perfect games before, but here it comes, the quick execute out. DRX trying to get ahead of things, in with the Hunter's Fury as well, but Mindfreak has managed to seal away with one.
It's the immediate speed up from Paper Rex, though, to get in towards the A site. Clear it together in numbers, you know what kind of utility you're up against, you know what weaponry you're up against at the moment. You can set yourselves up for a pretty nice plant. Though the Neural Theft comes in from freeing, so they know where everyone is.
Still, though, I mean, ahead of the timing game, Paper Rex has gotten themselves into position. A couple of sprays, a couple of trades from DRX out as well. Jing in with the Fi. They will manage to block off those sight lines, denying DRX any round win.
Yeah, some damage in there for sure, but damage is not what we're looking for at the moment, Quack. We're looking for rounds from DRX. We're looking for some sort of plan that goes 100%. I have missed it And I'm going to highlight this because I think it's quite important, and I'm sorry, I'll apologize first for Flashback. He's still on the donut. There's 0 kills coming through from him at the moment. I want to see him electrified. He's playing Neon. We need to see him get set up for some aggressive play from the team to get into Paper Rex's face, because when they're playing slow, we're not seeing too much space gathered elsewhere from DRX.
It bears saying, you've got a point, whether you call it a donut or an egg,
इतना flawless और 8-0 चल रहा है
needs
उनके
to
मैप
be
में जो लोग
changed into something else, and he's trying to get ahead of that right now, still holding these sight lines down into A short, but it's being blocked off.
Wolverine. He's pushing over towards the C side of things, but Flashback, I cursed him. He's been cursed. He's got it on the board.
At the same time, though, off to the other end of the map, the operator for the first round.
Last round ही देखा था ना अपन ने.
Holding things down, DRX having the numbers advantage will slow things down.
Yeah, the reclear over towards C as well for Paper Rex. You do currently see Hyunmin on the site itself. Some time to be bought from all this utility as well, but this is where you rest on the back of what Paper Rex do best. Explode in towards the site.
Clone, fault line, Paranoia completely blinding Freeing as well. Forsaken gate crashes all the way towards the back and kind of marks Hyunmin's angle. Still though, with a bit of a strafe, he takes down Jing. At least Divine and something will have each other's backs, and with that, the site completely flooded. Flashback, however, tries to get ahead, deny any spike plants. He will get one to fight in for the trade with an op. Bane.
भाई दवाई की ये something है भाई.
And the plant's position a little bit concealed.
Plant goes down as well.
Back into it as well. Holds it down, finds something.
Oh, does he know?
And it's a low HP Divine.
I think he knows.
It's an up in hand though, but there it is, the shock dart! You said it, he knows it, he gets the round for DRX.
I'm not sure if the gun barrel was just spotted. It's such a tight line on the corner of that wall. But somebody maybe called it, or maybe he just had the sixth sense. The shock dart to go, the kill to be calculated. Finally, DRX on the board.
And that's a much needed round at this juncture in this first half. Starting things off with a bit of a kill from Flashback, taking down Mind Freak. That just denied so much with how PaperX has been operating in towards A lobby.
And it's another moment in this round where the advantage is on the side of DRX.
PaperX
reel it back in towards their favor, right? A reposition in towards the C site, behind the dark cover, exploding, layering the utility nicely on in. It's what you do like to see from them, but a good little individual clutch to come out. You need to see some individual brilliance to come through from DRX at the moment, because as a team, it's not really doing too much. A reposition from Mako, however, and he'll dispatch of Jing.
Yeah, quick finds, but in with the gate crash once again. The clone as well from Forsaken, trying to gather more information into the C side, and he confirms that there are quite the number of DRX players on the C side.
Another single advantage for DRX, just like last round, but difference in the fact that it's not Mind Freak. Jing going down means no smokes, means you have to try and find a little bit of timing for PaperX at the moment. And I thought Mind Freak might have had it, but Marco stepping up when you need a leader to the most.
Quick bits of micro movements as well, and that is going to be DRX finding that timing against a Mind Freak, but now into it. Up in the hand of Hyunmin, blocks out Garage. Spike's been dropped. Forsaken though, still looking to get aggressive. Straight up triple, tries to go for the next spray, but gunned down by Bane. The salvos go out, and Divine will turn this into a one-on-one. Flashback gets it instead.
That was nearly so close for PaperX. I think a lot of people would have been yelling, screaming at their monitors. PaperX nearly make that work, and for DRX, I mean, you got to take a sigh, you got to take a breath. I do like the start, don't get me wrong. Marco trying to do what he can, dancing around the side as well. You know, Hyunmin starting to get what he needs to, but I got to say, Forsaken, he is in the server today. He's got to be happy with that little performance, and individually as well, Divine, right? For a Taeho in that situation, trying to do what you can with what you have. Isolate a single position with the salvos, look around, taking the fight. That's what he'll try to do with the scaling over towards A at the moment with the rest of the squad, where Forsaken will lead with the dimensional drift.
A bit of information as well, but Hyunmin in with the op does deny any potential lurks coming out from Mind Freak, and that is going to be PaperX continuing to try and barrel through into this A site combo of ultimates heading in.
But can you actually get in towards this at the moment? You're ready for a drop out toward the heavens, and it looks like it might just be the holding of the side at the moment. Bane Flashback getting active.
And they found him. That's a couple more down into A short, and that's DRX denying PaperX entry despite the ultimate set through.
A little bit of a late defensive half resurgence for DRX, but is, you know, an 8-4, a 9-3 going to be enough? I mean, you want to play on the earlier side of that with an 8-4. Of course, but again, you know, Paper Rex, they're still carrying a lot of this momentum.
For
They're
the
figuring out
hand
themselves.
Joker.
You know, against the eco rounds, we're playing it slow. Against the well-equipped rounds of DRX, yeah, we're losing a pick, but we're recalculating what we need to do. Grouping up, playing utility, going for a nice little entry. Sorry. So I wouldn't be surprised at the moment here with this little lesser-equipped party mix of weapons that you have for Paper Rex that you do play it a little bit slower, that you play on the back of your utilities.
And that does give you a lot of confidence as well moving into the later rounds, even in the second half. It might be an 8-4 if anything, but we'll see how Paper Rex continues to adjust from the previous rounds. They've been, you know, pretty much dedicated to whatever side they pick.
You don't want to fall into a trap here, though, as DRX. Be brought in towards the A lobby, welcomed with open arms, and waltz in towards a trap of Paper X. Do see as well, Forsaken is snuck in towards the garage. I mean, being quite cautious of that. You also do have freeing over towards the back of the plat too, so if it does turn into a bit of a C play from Paper X, it's not going to be too quick of a rotation from the rest of the DRX guys who are at the A site at the moment still. A transition from Bane currently.
And at the same time though, Mako also continuing to push out of A for further information. DRX pretty much has an idea of what Paper X are trying to do, and with that, the angle's being held, the op shots fire through, Bane with a final kill. DRX will secure this last round of the first half for DRX.
Alrighty, 8-4 at the half. After the timeout, that's 4 successive rounds. So, hey, I'm saying coach input, verified.
Very much so, and it always has been the case for DRX. Meanwhile, though, for Paper X, I mean, this is where you start to question things once again. They started out so incredibly hot, but now they've kind of cooled off.
Yeah, I mean, you're switching things up. You're going over towards your defensive side. If you're dropping towards the pistol round, you know, you can have a little bit of a waltz around and see how are we going to get back in towards this one, right? I think if it was the other way around at the moment, I'd be way more worried in a scenario than for Paper X, where I'm a little bit less worried right now from
That is the case, of course. Double duelist heading into the attacking side for DRX.
And that's where you would expect a little bit more strength to come out, right? If you think about going and diving in towards these sites, there's a lot of options that DRX are going to be able to have in towards, you know, your C explosions, your A explosions, but there's a lot of reliance on making sure that your Sova utility to come out from Bane is going to be there. And remember, it's been a little bit for him.
You need that assistance. You've mentioned it before. Not just Bane, you know, it's how they all work alongside each other. Hyunmin and Flashback as well. They need to be supported. Conversely, though, Komodo, I'm thinking for Paper X, you know, they started things out incredibly hot. We do have, you know, some of our favorite players on different roles, different agents. How does that continue to play out? Mind Freak, you know, we can kind of expect a consistent performance with that. But how does Jing look on this Omen?
I mean, I think towards how early they got, you know, knocked out over towards kickoff and how much time they've had to actually practice a new emerging comp and meta like the Breach.
Quite a bit of time. Quite a bit of time for sure. We shall see how it does continue to play forward now. Jing thus far has been, I would say, quite okay. 10-5.
Well, standard things, but unfortunately for freeing, gonna be the casualty of.
Hey, lol, dude. Abhi lurk work bhi ho sakta. Bhai Cypher pehla marna dard hai bhai.
And he does find something. A kill, that is, not the player.
Kind of passive for Paper X at the moment. Don't mind it. Bit of a garage look after for them. Oh, fire dispatched off, however. And that's going to be the B site that you want to start to get aggressive on. Though I'm looking at the other members of DRX. How are you going to get Bane in this? How are you going to get Flashback? If you're trying to tap on towards the plant, you're trying to set Hyunmin in for a bit of a sneaky beaky play, but it's the one-to-one trade. And now you actually have managed to get in towards this A side. Does Forsaken know it's empty space?
He certainly suspects it, thus not making too much noise as he heads back onto Heaven. Meanwhile, though, the rest of the team just circling back up. They do have the fault line paranoia combo. That allows Forsaken to at least get one. Still trying to get ahead, take the initiative, deny that spike plant, but Bane will hold his ground. A single tap and forced to hang back and reload. Still, though, audio cues be damned. Something has a flashpoint.
Easy for something,
pocket.
baby!
Looks for the right timing. Senses a bit of a fake.
Something
now
one tap
slowly
mark.
Creeps up. Bane looks to stick, and there it is. The flash sent through. It doesn't quite blind him, though, and Bane will find the headshot. DRX marching forward.
It's close, but it is carried over from the first half. A couple of early duels, right? The one-to-one trades to come out, some repositions around the map. I do really actually like what DRX did over towards the B side. When you take out Devi, you recognize that there's going to be no one else on towards the side. You go in for the look on, are we actually going to plant here? You bait out some rotations from Forsaken off the A site, you get in there and you go for the plant. However, the quick heads up for PaperX to recognize they've got a Paranoia fault line combination that they can go in with to drop Forsaken in towards the site. I thought that retake was going to look good for PaperX, but individually at the end, Bane finds that one. This is the way back in for DRX for this map.
Absolutely. It almost definitely feels like DRX are given a lot more options, a lot more freedom with how they've been moving around the map now. You know, a single kill off of B, and they don't quite fully commit because they still have more that they can work with. Now, on the anti-eco, of course, straight into C.
Yeah,
got a bit of a lurk as well.
A difference as well from PaperX. When they lose positions around the map, they recognize that they just need to take space somewhere. Yes, it's on the eco round, but I'd love to see this when they get their rifle rounds happening.
Might be a different story.
DRX को support कर, ये क्या photo है रे?
Hold up inside garage. Util back in, so a bit of a progression smoke. Hyunmin tries to look for a head or two around the dome. Doesn't quite find much. That allows for PaperX to march in, boots on the ground, but Flashback still holding the angle, slides forward, and that's gonna be a second kill to his name. Still though, a couple of trades right back from PaperX, and that's enough damage, you would say. Mako trying to hold back true.
Everyone,
ninjas.
Everyone up with the spike at the end. When you can't get any more ultis, you don't want to give anything more over towards Hyunmin to Bane as well, getting closer to that Hunter's Fury too. You know, these key ultimates that could definitely be impactful when you're going in towards the next gun round for PaperX, for example. That can pick you off at the very beginning, allow DRX to really start to steamroll back towards this map. Again, you know, not too much that you'll take away from a round such as that. Some damage at the attempted retake to come out from PaperX for sure.
We do love a diligent Alex. Marks that further notes. Might have spotted something or two, but at the same time, wondering about how this double duelist might work out. Sure, some guns were robbed away, but they will be able to buy or at least trade some weapons off of each other. It's Flashback in with a Bulldog instead of a Bucky.
Yeah. Quick up towards mid as well from DRX. If they actually want to attend towards this seaside at the moment, they're going to have a quick wrap around on towards He's gone. Do they expect, however, Jing to still be in here? Because it looks a little bit awkward for him. Good for one.
Yeah, and that is going to be an effective flood nonetheless. PaperX continuing to try to rotate forward. It's going to be a bit of a gate crash for Forsaken as well. I'm missing a UI bug, not too sure. Nonetheless, they are still coming in, but then denied out by Mako with a Sheriff. It's just down to Devi, and he has to hold on to this gun for the next round.
Well, that's attacking side and bonuses, unless somehow Devi gets from A to C and a defuse here. Going both of those teams' way on the attacking side. So you're playing towards the narrative that attacking strengths are continuing here on Haven for this Breach Taeho meta.
Love you, Rodak, bye.
That's what you would hope for, but certainly isn't the case right now.
Yeah, and DRX, I mean, I say Breach Taeho, right? But they're changing it up. Double duelist, you got to be a little bit more proficient and cohesive with what layering of utility that you want to do to get in towards the sites. And I'm looking at it here for poor old Devi. He will go down at the end. Bonus not able to take away a rifle towards this next round as well. We're staring down the barrel of a potential equalizer.
Yeah, just 2 rounds are quick enough. DRX are able to kind of suspect what kind of defensive positions PaperX might be holding. That was a very deliberate plan, Komodo, to send Flashback as well as Hyunmin in. Both.
यार तुम लोग ने मूवी देखी मूवी में जब भी तक ट्विस्ट नहीं आता ना तब तक मजा नहीं आता, समझ रहे हो? अभी ऑपिंग चालू होगी नेक्स्ट राउंड, ये राउंड नहीं, इसके बाद वाला राउंड ऑपिंग चालू होगी, कॉम्बोस होंगे, फिर बाद में जो होएगा लाइक सिनेमा, एब्सोल्यूट सिनेमा बोलोगे. अच्छा PRX तो आप निकले लैंग्वेज.
Where do we want to rotate our key positions? Where do we want to layer up any fault line salvo combos? Where do we want to position Forsaken as well to be able to quickly rotate, but more importantly, apply pressure in taking space around the map?
Yeah, the most successful one that we've seen thus far was just on the pistol, where Forsaken managed to get that read, where he was playing kind of passively or defensively enough on towards Hey Heaven. Is that going to be the case for the upcoming rounds, though? Not quite sure, but one thing we can say for sure is that there are millions of Jing fans.
Oh, absolutely. I wonder, though, how many of them actually would have thought Jing and an Omen, right?
No.
How many of them would have thought that they were having a complete switch up towards PaperX, which, you know, I look at this roster of agents and I think this is not incentivized into a W gaming, but it can have its key moments.
We'll see if the final score does echo as to how PaperX are looking to perform for the rest of this season. Right now, DRX are very close to equalizing the score. It might have been a timeout from Alex, but still, PaperX does not have the guns currently. They are starting off with a bit of a 3-2 split, though.
Slow and steady, but for Forsaken, he's baited in towards finding some information for himself to try and steer the ship steady for PaperX. And it's just going to be the upheaval in towards this A site for DRX.
Whoa. Okay, no opportunity for Forsaken to gate crash back into safety, and right now no opportunity for Divide to even find a single frag. Jing, however, marches out of garage with Mindfreak along his back. He will take a gun away from freeing. But that said, a site has been given over onto DRX.
4 versus 2, down, which means everybody is up for DRX as well. Gonna look at the backlines for Marco. Everyone else focused on towards the site at the moment. A lot of utility as well. Recon to be able to play off. I'll actually spot out mine too, so there's an idea that it might even be a double drop towards Heaven. Smoke Jing off.
Next round मैं तुम लोग को potential दिखा देगा, रुको.
That's just a tough situation to be in. Mindfreak in with the Sheriff trying to look for a single pick, but nothing found. Jing off with the save.
Can't blame him. You definitely want all of the pieces going in towards the next round as well. When you looked on the back of what's around the corner for PaperX2, right? Forsaken with the dimensional drift. Divide is one away from the Armageddon. These can be some really key ults for retakes as well. If you want to just recognize that you're losing a site, call the audible, call for the strong retake. Let Forsaken go in, find you all the information. Get your stuns lined up from something. Get all of that utility ready for a really clean retake that those ultimates can definitely provide.
I will stand by my word.
Certainly something that PaperX could be looking to pull off in some of the upcoming rounds. Yeah, you do have that dimensional drift. You have the breach tail combos as well. But right now, this scoreline, Komodo, it's been 8 straight rounds for DRX to get themselves back into this game.
Yeah.
Got flashback on the overdrive as well. Hyunmin on the blades. These duelists are certainly looking to pop off. Shock Dart in to break a trip.
No trip there at the moment, though. It is just going to be Mindfreak at that C site to bunker down. Jing falls first, overlooking something at the moment, though. So at least a little bit of a later trade in the mix, trying to get on in. It's so awkward for that spray. But look at Flashback. He's got in the backlines.
Yeah, that's not too bad. 2-for-1. Flashback into the backlines, though. That's what ultimately cracks open the site. But here comes Forsaken with a bit of an ult. He's looking for information. He's looking to break and force them to disperse. The Flash might just do that. He sends out a second one and looks to infiltrate behind enemy lines. Divide and takes initiative off of that scenario and finds one. A tap from Forsaken down to Flashback in a sudden 1-on-2. Goes for the peek. And he will take down Forsaken. Could this be the quad? It is! Flashback flashes the winning sign against PaperX.
Confidence. That's confidence for Flashback in this squad. The first installment of him on this Neon, and he's starting to get in towards this for the team. I'm looking at towards what Forsaken and Divide are trying to do in that retake, right? When I'm seeing plants go down, 2 versus 3, sometimes you might look to question, why is he using that ultimate? He had an operator, he's switched into the Vandal, but more importantly, he's using himself as an information position at the moment there for his teammate in Divide to get the salvos right, to try and flush out the opponents, and I'm thinking it's looking gorgeous in how they're, you know, maintaining their stability in that retake, but no. It comes over. DRX for the lead here and quick in towards the new round.
And now down to the 2-on-1. Clutch brought to you by Red Bull on Flashback, of course, but then next round coming up, bit of info and Forsaken TPs.
Silence around the server as well. Marco to sneak up towards the C site. A little bit of hesitancy. And all the other positions around the map as well. Trade. Garage if you want, starting to get a little bit antsy. Out.
Speaking of Garage, that is the position where something was playing earlier before, possibly trying to lure DRX into another hit.
There's a bit of a shift from PaperX towards the A side at the moment.
That's right.
This is going to be a bit of a wrong call, freeing. If he spotted out the shoulder or something, would have been a brilliant opener. This is a bit of a misread from PaperX.
Yeah, not enough information outside of the A lines, and that brings them over, but gives up more space around C, and that is where DRX will explode. Bane in with the next kill, and all of a sudden, the spike goes down. Garage under DRX's control. I just can't imagine a scenario where PaperX takes this round back.
Yeah, That one actually really hurts for Paper X too, because you don't mind the starting ideas of that round, right? You drone through mid, you see no presence there, you see nothing on your C utility, you have a spot out through garage, you see nothing, so you start to calculate, yeah, they're over towards A, they're either sewers or they're long, though we don't really have any idea to confirm that, right? Forsaken's not in a forward line, you don't have, you know, anything else really over there. Divai, well, he was just focused in droning towards mid, so even he can't do anything over towards A, who's the extra closer member. So, unfortunately for Paper X in this round, they do have to look to try and save the remainder of their guns.
Yeah, still though, they are conceding that round, and as we near double digits, well, we just landed. It is going to be a bit of an intense scenario, let's say, for Paper X to be in. You know, starting to feel that pressure.
Forsaken on the line. Back to the drawing board to get some information from Alex. What does he recognize at the moment? Because remember, when DRX were in a situation like this on their other side,
I don't mind it, even if a little bit rolling.
You know, it does some work to try and dislodge flashback, So I really do like how that retake was formulated for Paper X.
A sigh of relief, if anything. But with the fact that it's a flawless, you just gotta imagine how much more they can get. If anything, it does force DRX to kind of scramble all throughout.
4 players towards the A side of the map at the moment for Paper X. A 1-to-1 trade at the end, but that would signify a go time towards the C side. If you sniff out, there's no trap there from Mindfreak though, because there's they're just going to get in.
Yeah, still able to. Double duelist, of course. What I'm most curious about though is Mako on this deep lurk outside B. Does Paper X find him at some point? If not, it could be trouble. Right now, though, at least Forsaken does spot Hyunmin out by C Long. 3 players, though, from DRX, all coming in. They're just looking to provide that additional support, and there it is. Even with a second flash, it's not going to be enough. Something will get gunned down, and that's the entire C-Long area being controlled by DRX. A tough defuse going through. Mindfreak, though, nonetheless, still trying to stick it, but here comes that Hunter's Fury. He gets lased, and all that's left is just Divai. Mako back in towards C-Link. Divai now at this point just looking for a bit of a safe haven. Well, on the map of Haven, of course, but still somewhat surrounded. Look at Bane.
Untenable. An absolutely untenable position from him in the beginnings of this retake here. I got to highlight as well, right? You mentioned Marco going for that little lurk as Divai loses the gun there. Awkward. Marco's position actually extremely paramount. When he throws out a paranoia, it dispatches the guys around C a little bit from Paper X. Starting to consider, is Marco actually going to play on the back of this rotate? Is he going to get in our backlines when we're going for this retake? There's such a premium on Forsaken and on something in that flank of their own to try and get some damage, because if that flank is successful, Bane doesn't have the Hunter's Fury. The team of DRX are not looking towards the spike, and you can get some sort of retake happening successfully. So a couple of key moments in that round going DRX's way.
For sure, but right now, I mean, still, all eyes are on Forsaken. How he's going to work this Euro. Previously, with that Dimensional Drift, trying to get space around C-Long. Didn't quite work out this time. 4-stack into Garage. Now they're dispersing. No info found. DRX are very, very cautious with how they're looking for this map point.
I mean, changing up the approach, though, are Paper X. Sending Mindfreak's territory over towards this A site and freeing, just playing hooky with the camera, but eventually getting the job done. You start to piece together a bit of information around where these players are on the map.
Bit of a chase against that stealth drone as well, but here goes. More information found. Divai, though, open positions, and that's going to be Bane punishing them right down. Hyunmin off towards the back of A as well. Forsaken, the only one left. In with a Phantom, quick in towards the open lanes once more, and Flashback says lights out.
4 survivors for DRX in that scenario. Again, another gun round to come through from Paper X, where you're seeing a change, right? As I mentioned, the Cypher setup over towards A. You're trying to look for your Cypher locking down one area of this map to let the rest of your team explore, play on utility, play on information. Feels like something at the end of that one, a little bit disconnected from the rest of the team, right? Losing their wires in towards the front of B, not setting up any combinations of utility or anything for himself to be a bit self-sufficient. So a bit awkward for Paper X, and now 3 chances, 3 for DRX to close out this map.
All right, chance uno.
L
And they
मतलब
start things
loss.
off a little bit safer than before.
Oh.
Shit,
A
yeah.
2-3 split with Forsaken up
हमें क्या
towards
अभी?
A, very forward. Unfortunately for
भाई
him, though,
जब से
Fring
एक
has
सपना
snuck
देखा ना तब
past.
से L
That
loss
could
नहीं
be,
lax हो गया.
you know, the nail in the head.
This can
Nail
be
in the coffin.
so powerful
Beat
for
for
him.
DRX.
It's just
Super
how he
auto.
plays it at the moment, and the opener is there on a Forsaken. That has to be the call for the team to immediately get over here. He's setting up all the forward utility. It's just Heaven that's going to be a little bit dirty. And now Marco, again, can transition into playing his own little lurk, and we've already seen how destructive that has been so far too.
Very, very much so, Komodo. This could be it. DRX, not only did they win out in timing or the duels, they're winning out in positions as well. And Paper Rex just have to consistently watch their back. That is nothing too comfortable. You're going to always feel like someone's right behind you. And as they push on out, it's a choke point. DRX has them under a chokehold, winning out 13-9 as the final score from their own
winner बोलते हैं यार.
Singular defensive round to come through from there on Paper X's side has got to be a little bit hurting for them, and not even a little bit really. You're on 8-4 at the half. You're thinking all the momentum's going on your way, and then DRX just kind of come out of the gates a little bit firing, continuing towards the.
भाई 8-0 था यार. कैसे बेंच कैसे 8-0 था भाई. 8-0. 10 लाख हाथी का एल देंगे बिंक्स तेरे को. पिंकी दी को 10 लाख मतलब
तेरे को 10 लाख हाथी का
तेरे को पैसा मिलेगा ना. चलेगा
मेरे को
चलेगा
चलेगा.
चलेगा.
किसको दे?
यही देखने का था, यही देखने का था. पेरेक्स ओनर वांट्स योर लोकेशन. मैं कुछ नहीं किया, मेरी बात सुनो. सेकंड मैप 100% डीआरएक्स जीतेगा, क्योंकि अभी पीआरएक्स का मोमेंटम वो डाउन हो चुका है, मोरल. समझ रहे हो? मैप 2 है, डीआरएक्स जीतेगा. छाती पे टिक के रखो. मैं तो बोलता हूँ एक ट्वीट बनता है. एक ट्वीट बनता है. लेट्स गो.
आज डीआरएक्स के लिए ट्वीट कर, ताकि वो लोग अगर जीत गए तो तेरा ट्वीट का कर्ज टूट जाएगा.
बस
2-0 ऐसा नहीं होता, स्लैश होता है, डॉट नहीं होता.
2-0 नहीं है, 2.0. डीआरएक्स 2.0. डीआरएक्स पहले 2.0 लिखा, मेरी गांड मार दी लोगों ने, तो अभी डीआरएक्स 2.0 लिख रहा हूँ.
कर पोस्ट
हाँ?
कर. अब देखते हैं ना, अब देखते हैं.
क्या अब देखते हैं? मेरी चैट से बड़ा हरामी कोई नहीं है भाई. हाँ?
अगर अभी डीआरएक्स हारी
ऐसा लग रहा है वो होता है.
ऑब्वियस.
चैट इज हैंडलिंग योर ट्वीट्स इन लाइफ वाला फील आ रहा. एलेक्स भाई स्ट्रीम देखा तो बूट कैम्प में भी बैन देंगे. मत करो यार, मत करो.
When DRX figured it out in the first half.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
भाई मैं सच्ची बोल रहा हूँ, जो भी 10,000 सुपर चैट करेगा ना, तुम्हारा दिन अच्छा नहीं जाएगा.
They woke back up, but this is the classic, like, they had us in the first half, not gonna lie, you know. It's Icebox.
At the end of the day, like, you have two pretty big comp switches and role changes for both of these teams. You're going to get a lot of parity.
Second match, please, DRX support
They
करो.
had a good
PRX
approach
को हार
initially.
के
They
नहीं
went
देख
up
सकता.
8-0,
DRX
but
जीतने
they
वाला.
let
टेंशन
DRX
मत.
back into the
टेंशन
game.
मत.
They got a little bit too one-dimensional. They
Right,
kept going
पहले
for
क्या
that
है?
kind of death ball
Gen Z लोग
contacty
क्या
style
करते हैं अभी वो?
over
वाला
towards C in
super-
particular. It's something that DRX heavily
बाप रे,
started to
वाला
figure
क्या
out.
है?
And then they got pistol, and then they got bonus win,
Lunch
and they
हुआ
were
क्या?
well and
Nice.
truly back in
We
the
don't do
game. I don't
lunches.
feel like they had a very
We
strong
don't have
defined
lunches.
idea of what they wanted to
यही
do on
चाय गरम
defense
कर रहा
until
हूँ.
they
अभी बोल
started
रहा हूँ
to
आधा कप
respond
ऐसे ही
to
यही
what
कर रहा
PRX
हूँ.
was doing
बाद
to
में
them and
बोलोगे
to
2
adapt
कप
to them a
ऑलरेडी
little
पी
bit
लिया.
more.
10 शाम
But it
को
was a
पीएगा.
great turnaround from Flashback, who hasn't ever played Neon before. It's his first game on Neon ever.
Yeah, we were doubting it for sure, but he kind of showed us
तो
up there, you know.
कॉपी आज
Map MVP there. He actually had a fantastic game, some great kills. Now, this is a big thing we wanted to talk about from that first half, is we can see how grouped PRX end up playing when they go into this attack. They love this kind of 5-man death ball. None of this fancy messing about defaulting. This is punch you in the face Valorant, where they go and trade. We saw this again and again and again through the first half, and it's a huge part of their defining style. It's what's made Paper Rex who they are, is how efficiently they're able to trade, and it looked strong, but towards the end of that half, when DRX got the read, they managed to shut it down.
Yeah, for sure. Some really good adaptations from them. time and time again. I mean, you see these side executes just kind of making sure they minimize risk with all the utility. They go in together. It's good spacing and good trading time and time again. I think here you see a classic bonus round from DRX. Here you see the neon wall and the smoke over in towards A-Link, and you turn it into a back garage wrap towards C. It's what allowed DRX to win the bonus, and you're able to come away with rounds like that when you play this neon comp. It has so much pace behind it. You could be in grass 1 second, and then all of a sudden you're wrapping back garage, catching the other team completely off guard. It just wasn't something that Paper X were ready for. And even, you know, Flashback, for an example, is a player that, you know, you put him into these clutch positions, for example, that he's been able to show on the Sentinels and things like that. And he's playing the Neon, in this case, ends up backside C, and he's able to come away with the goods. This is a perfect example of I saw him win this exact same clutch on the Cypher in kickoff against one of the other opponents that they played over there. So it was fantastic stuff from him. I was not a believer on the attacking, on the defensive arm. I was thinking, what the hell are they doing? And he really turned it around. I think as well, freeing onto the Cypher, it's one of his most played agents. So we've been talking about him only playing Teo so far this year, but Cypher is a very, very good pick for him, and it's an agent that he played and a role that he played a lot of over in Rare Atom.
Yeah, he's trying to expand his pool. He's trying to show us that it's not a crutch, you know? He can do more. And I mean, I think there's still more we have to see. I don't think his Cypher was quite as good as his Teo was, but, you know, they got over the line, and that's what's important.
You're still on about the Teo.
I hope he plays it on Icebox. I want more.
He's a great Cypher. But speaking of Icebox, we haven't seen these two teams play Icebox in quite a while, especially against each other. And now with the Teo, with Waylay, even ISO being buffed, Harbor being buffed, we've got a lot of changes happening, so Icebox is going to be really interesting. And what else has changed is DRX in their playstyle. The fact that they picked double duelist on Haven and played the way they did is already an evolution of this team. Paper X, on the other hand, swapping roles. The thing is, I feel like we didn't really get to see fully what that means. Is if it's just Haven, with Jing and Mindfreak swapping this one map, is it a permanent thing? And with the Ball of Doom, you can't. It's kind of hard to determine how effective they are.
I think Mindfreak playstyle-wise does fit a Sentinel. I don't mind that change at the end of the day. So I think that's fine. For Jing on something like an Omen, you could be a little bit more aggressive in that controller role. I think a lot of people were asking to see more of Jing on an Omen or something, so they were quite surprised when Jing was put on Sentinel roles and things like that when PRX were going to more standardized comps. So I think they're experimenting with some things. I mean, we've seen plenty of Breach already from something, so that's not a huge departure. And Forsaken on a Flash, you know, Flash in agent, or like a Flash duelist in this case, like a Yoru, is not outside the realms of possibility.
Yeah, I do have to say as well, it's definitely nice seeing DRX not run this Teo style in a way, you know? There was a lot of talk of like, you know, that was their style, right? They ran it the whole way through kickoff, the whole way through Masters, and now they're showing, hey, we don't even need that. Well, we can play well, we can win maps without doing that. So it really shows that extra wrinkle that they managed to add to their game post-Masters.
To touch on that, like you're talking about Teo, Freeing not being on Teo, so what do you put him on? Well, he played Senti before like a Cypher, so that forces Flashback into a different role, and in this case, that's Duelist. You know, it went okay, I think. Definitely, you know, one half was not great, one half was amazing, so we'll see if they continue to do stuff like that in the future.
I'm just wondering how this is going to carry forward. Again, into Icebox. Flashback, yes, our MVP. We were a little, you know, curious about the Neon, like we've said. It was the very first time he's been on the Neon, but he proved it, had a lot of really great clutch rounds that helped carry them forth actually in that first half and build up that momentum. I wonder how often are we going to see this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for it more after this map. You know, the casters spoke about this during the game, but Neo needs a lot of setup. And at the start, it didn't feel like he was managing to get that. And then as the team kind of clicked, settled into the game, it felt like he was able to get set up a little more, like we spoke about in that bonus round. He was able to settle into the server and win those clutches.
I mean, it just comes down to what side that they were playing on, right? You know, you can play the game in the way that you intended and be a little bit more assertive on attack. Defense, they weren't really sure that, what to do on their initial approach against what Paper X was doing, and once they actually started to get their stuff together a little bit more and adapt, that's where he was able to shine, and they understood, okay, we need to play a bit more of a retake style, we need to play kind of a flood style on C, for example, and understand how the Neon actually fits into that.
I do want to talk about expectations for the remainder of this map. Do you guys stand by your DRX prediction?
I mean, I do after that. I'm glad that they settled in, but map 2 is a complete no, you know, no Pacific team has played Icebox in a long time, let alone just these two teams. So we don't know what to expect. Icebox is now a place where we're able to be a little bit more.
कोई सीन नहीं थंडर फ्लेम, मेरा फुल सपोर्ट है तेरे को, फुल रिकवर हो जाएगा, टेंशन मत लो, टेंशन मत लो। 100 बार बोला गैम्बलिंग मत कर, गैम्बलिंग मत कर, इधर सुपर चैट कर, तभी सुनने में नहीं आया। हाँ, फुल सपोर्ट है, फुल रिकवर।
KO Gecko and things like that, they were still playing Sage.
कर रहा हूँ, मैं बोल रहा था ना उसको, मत कर, मत कर, मत कर, मत कर।
Like, I think they can run Sage, but I just don't, you know, we see them pick up this breach Teo, and it looked, you know, it looked fine for the first half, but then it fell apart on the defense when you know, it's less about trading and it's more about setups. So Icebox is a
Bugs bhai, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. ऐसा बोल तो शायद तेरा recover नहीं होएगा।
They are at their core, they're W gamers, so I want to see that back.
Do you think we're
सुमित भाई मैं कभी किसको सुपर चैट नहीं करता हूँ, मेरी लाइफ की सुपर चैट है, पहली बार सुमन भाई को की थी आपके लिए। Love you.
I wonder how cooked that was though, because they are one of the teams that have come off Masters. They've had less prep time than a lot of other teams. Maybe they're just throwing something like an off comp in there. So Icebox is a big question mark for me. In fact, I would expect DRX would be the team to either they're going to throw a curveball in terms of a half-cooked comp, which I think that even might have been, to be fair. But I think I would expect them to do something a little bit more standardized versus PRX, who've had a lot of time to prepare. I would expect them to be the team, especially being the team that did pick Icebox into this series, to throw something a little bit more crazy in there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You know, it's nice having a map that's a complete unknown. It's always great when we get these map pool changes. And I think when a map comes back in and there's lots of changes in Valorant, for me that's the most fun time, because everybody gets to try new things.
Oh, absolutely, and I expect nothing less from both of these two teams now, where DRX used to be kind of predictable, really solid, but also very predictable. And they do not disappoint.
Okay. Let's go!
Forsaken is adding another notch to the agent pool.
Yeah.
Here.
It's Waylay time. We finally got it. Now this is such an exciting comp from
DRX,
pairing it up with the Teo. We have the KO that we saw dominate on the map before, but Waylay is going to be the star here.
DRX change their code. No, never.
Senti for PRX though, so there will definitely be gaps on their
Alex
defense
by
initially.
plus
Forsaken
is equal to PRX.
Definitely get a lot more
Simple
space
baat
up
hai.
middle. I'm keeping an eye on
Plus
PRX are
Jing
going to be able to
and
do it this way.
Dawai
I think they
also.
have to go
Plus
for things
Mind
like
Freak
tube aggression
also
or
and
keep an eye
something
on middle a
also.
lot more, just
It's
because
a
they
team
don't
game.
have something like a Killjoy, which really helps you keep a lot of control on the map on defense. And for DRX, I mean, it's a very standardized comp, just with the change of initiator and keeping freeing on the Teo. So I want to see how Teo goes here on Icebox.
Well, you got your Tejo, and Jing is also now playing an initiator on Tejo. We're going to go back to our casters Komodo and Quack to take this crazy next map away.
Thank you very much, Victoria, as well as Big Time and Pilsky. I think Pilsky got some really good points, though. I mean, a Sentinel's composition is going to be a little bit tricky, especially given how PaperX are starting out on the defense. But you gotta love how they're trying to work alongside the Teo and the meta picks. Waylay already kicking off aggressive line with the Viper around 410.
Well, everybody for DRX bar one surrounding this A side as well, right? So a little bit of a slower stall up towards the side itself, and you don't generally think that Waylay is going to be a defensive agent, but then you got to remember that the Refract's going to allow Forsaken to go in for a challenge, take the hopeful dub, and then get out.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to how he was playing at Yoru before, but you gotta be very careful, right? Just pressing that ability, refracting back, there is a very tiny window where you can get punished. So, right now, it's just playing it safe, off angles, in towards the site. Not going to be able to find too much, though, and a bit of a salvo being sent through as well. Jing holding on to his currently, but there it goes, allowing for the rest of the team to kind of flood back in. However, that dark smoke, that one way, is blocking so much of it off. As soon as it blooms away, it's going to be Hyunmin now finding the shot back in. Straight in with the Sheriff's, though. Flashback will get gunned down, and here it comes. Bane back in towards a safer spot. Trades for trades, and Freeing will take the next player down. Mindfreak even gunned down from the back.
By no Sentinel in Icebox is kind of a crazy, huh?
Not yet planted. 20 seconds left. What?
Yeah, Marco holding out in mid. Very nice timing as well to just recognize that there's a potential flank to come through from PaperX, and at the end of all the damage that is delivered on the A site, freeing on 2 HP.
By
Marco
2 HP
still on
matlab
100 is what
lucky.
is left for DRX to pretty much continue the flawless run from our first map. But Divide here,
Marco one
10
tap.
seconds off the 0 point, but spotted out.
Yeah, and you gotta imagine Freak's just
Team
playing from a very safe spot. He's holding on to those salvos for sure. So the first obstacle, you gotta break through Davai. It's gotta be Mako. He's still playing around the boxes so much though. A bit of a tag, it's not gonna be enough. Davai needs to push up front, and as he does, he's gonna be exposing himself to more angles.
क्या सीन जाए हालांकि तो रेट लिया क्या नहीं
Around over towards DRX, but you got to consider it was very winnable for PRX when they're actually taking their time, dumping a lot of this utility in towards the A site to try and make things a little bit hot and heavy for DRX.
Kabish
So look at
bhai,
all this
raat ko lunga
utility around the site, and when the dark cover fades, that's when you have to just see these.
Kabish bhai, thank you for the 70 Canadian Australian
trades there for sure.
dollars
Yes,
मेरी
but
जान के
ultimately in the
टोट
round,
पे
it's Marco's kill on towards Mind Freak that I would say was a pivotal moment. If he loses that duel, I mean, you play to the numbers, right? The 1 versus 2 should go the way of Paper X there.
Yeah. That's it.
El
Though, I mean, a
Clásico,
lot of it
DRX
is still
stacks
going
those
down
memories,
to the
huh?
I know,
controller.
right?
Oh, wow, okay, starting things off.
Yes,
Salvos are
sir.
already towards the back of belt. DRX just
That's
hanging
in
back a little
Basel.
bit as well. You know, they've got all these players here. They've got the guns. And at the same time, what was Pilsky talking about again? Yeah, no
Marco
hard
ko
sentinel. Yeah,
dekho.
Marco gets to
Marco,
slip all the way towards the back.
Marco.
He does spot out Mind Freak. Trigger discipline though, and he's just holding onto it. Mind Freak now gunned down. Headshots through, and the rest of the team will launch their assault in.
He's got another one. He's looking for 3.
Oh,
that's
Marco.
crazy. What a flank to come out from Marco. A flawless round to come through from DRX, but you just got to remember it is against the weak pistols of Paper X, right? You can't take away too much from that round. A nice idea for them to stack, for sure. Yeah, a nice idea. But I will say one thing, actually. What does that expose? It exposes the true position. It exposes that because you don't have a sentinel, you have to be way more proactive around the map as Paper X. And this agent composition that they've got is technically able to do that. If you've got nice timing on your darts, your 0 point, your recon, you can do something like that.
And that's where I get a little bit concerned as well, Komodo, because Paper X, as it is, are already facing so much pressure from the fans, from their team, from each other even at times. And it just can't feel good. You know, you're constantly thinking now, and now you might be worrying about 2 so much so that you're playing way too defensive. Look at what they're doing right now. Hanging back, trying to check for mid. DRX, meanwhile, just continues to hold, slow creeps up back in towards A.
Yeah, and if you're DRX at the moment, how do you want to try and get in towards this site too, right? What sniffing abilities do you technically have? You've still got the drone to come out from free, but more importantly, right, do you want to try and just recollect together when you hear some utility going from Paper X? Because this gives you the idea that they don't 100% know where you are either, right? They're trying to figure out the information at this point in the round at the same time.
Precisely, and that's just what happened. Drone out from drone, 1 into mid, 1 from A in from DRX, and with that, they time it perfectly into B as well. So a bit of a toxic screen, a bit of a jiggle from Mind Freak as well, but I don't know if he spotted out enough.
Yeah, there's 2 positions around the map that are of key importance. What damage can Freeing do to keep Paper X here? And importantly, what information do Paper X find over at the B site? And unfortunately, they started to shift, which meant vulnerability for something. And now look how far forward Freeing is.
That is
20 seconds though, 20 seconds.
Incredible. But yeah, I think they're still good, Komodo. 20 seconds, yes, that might be the case, but Freeing's got all of this locked down. Still though, okay, looking away, 90 degrees, just around screens, it's a little bit scary. The salvos does buy some time, but DRX still looking for a safe spot to plant. Bane gets it just in the nick of time. Paper X might have the sights around it, but at the same time, Mako still not detected. Davai won't look to launch the assault straight in, takes that one pick off against Flashback. And at the same time, Forsaken still alive. No utility though, so he's just gonna have to gun his way through. Takes down Freeing, and all that's left, Bane and Mako all the way towards the back. They have the spike under their sights. Looking around that though, but the reload not in his favor. Forsaken will swing, but Mako swings as well. That's a shot, a trade for trade. And down it's just Mind Freak around the toxic screen. Mako spots him anyway.
Getting the point down at the right spot at the end where all that utility looks to stall you. The reason I highlight 20 seconds back as well, because you've got to wait and respect out salvos. A lot of times when when
वो
teams
है
have those
अभी।
available, right? You
Short
have to
channel का बोल रहा
recognize
है।
as well. Have
क्या
we seen
short
them? Are
channel
they down the 40 seconds as well? They throw them out. They stabilize at the end there. I want to highlight too, a good 0 point actually in the middle
Thank you,
of this
Raj.
retake meant that
मेरे को नहीं
DRX had to
समझा।
fight a couple of those duels dry. And it starts to look a little bit awkward, right? Paper Rex are hitting the shots in towards that one, but at the end, I think you just kind of forget about all the early stages in the round because Mako just gets clutched.
Yeah, it's just another delicious Red Bull clutch from Mako, as he's known to do. That said, though, I want to see Paper Rex play a little bit more comfortably, right? You know, playing defensive just isn't quite working out for them. But right now, in a bit of a 3-2 split, they peek into B and they don't see anything.
Yeah. That's important as well, right? Recognize that Paper Rex are
He's
trying to do something with the lesser
watch
weaponry.
party
I love to
shorts
see
to
these sort of
remember
ideas
a
on
clip
towards the gun rounds as well. You can fashion a good duel, a good
अच्छा,
overwhelming
वैसा?
force. It can always go a treat. But the fact that
यार,
they're
लेकिन
receiving a B, they're going to have some numbers here for
shorts
the
में क्या
retake when the
upload
spike does
करूँ
go
मैं?
down.
With that, numbers for numbers.
Watch party का।
Komodo, I'm still quite worried. You know, given the weaponry, it's going to be tough for Paper Rex. Bit of a
सोचना
refract
पड़ेगा।
from Forsaken. I don't know how much information that's really going to give to
Optima
the
दे।
team. Toxic screen up. Maybe they look to stick the defuse somewhere here or
या
there.
फिर
There's
बोल
only
या
so
फिर
many
मत
positions
बोल
that you
कान
can
में
look to
फूक
spam
मार
this
रही है तू
defuse down attempt though, right?
Yeah,
मत
it's going to be tough for sure. One point and another, they're going to have to push out. And as they do, it's going to be a bit of a choke point. Two angles being locked down, freeing alongside Flashback. Hyunmin now chiming in as well. Only one frag found for Paper Rex. DRX, on the other hand, a 4-0 scoreline.
Yeah, off to a similar start from what Paper Rex were able to do over on Haven, right? So it feels like attacking side, your opponent's map pick, good start, but does it fall
अगली
to
बार
over at
WhatsApp
the
कर
end? I
देना,
mean, we'll have
इतना
to
देर
see
नहीं
that
रुक
in
सकता।
a couple of moments' time in the future. But right now, I mean, DRX are looking to carry momentum. They're looking to be very cohesive. You know, the comms you're expecting to be good because everybody is recognizing on DRX at the moment what utility needs to go where, even in the positions where the time is starting to
और
become
बोला
a
tweet
factor.
delete
They're
करें।
also, you know, kind of looking
हमारा
pretty good.
तेरे।
So try to cut the head off this one nice and early. Paper Rex
चलो
have
तो
a
support ही कर लेता
timeout,
हूँ।
and we already saw in the first series, right, conversion rates on the back of timeouts.
And that's the whole thing. You know, Paper X, they have been known to do this before off of timeouts, but it's been a bit of a tough year for them so far. We'll see if this really comes into factor for them. You can see that Alex, at the very least, you know, he isn't molding. He's very active, and hopefully that does help them. But at the same time, I just gotta imagine for DRX,
क्यूटी से बात आगे बढ़ाने का कोई टिप्स कोई सीन नहीं है,
tough
कॉन्फिडेंस
opponents
रख,
back on bigger stages than
support है।
this. As we head back
हो
on
जाएगा,
over to
पंकज भाई।
Pacific, playing old compositions that
40
they've
के
been
tips
known
मान
to
रहे हो,
play
हो
before.
जाएगा।
I just imagine, even
QT
with new
will get
players,
impressed.
they're very comfortable working with Hermes' system.
Best of luck.
Well, I'll flip it on the other side for a moment, right?
Oh
For
my
Paper Rex,
God,
they weren't a bad
Pankaj,
Icebox
मत
team
करना
back in the
कुछ।
day when it was in the
कुछ
pool, right?
मत
You think
करना।
of
भरोसा रखो।
Forsaken getting out on the Sova, more
Confidence
importantly, Jing
is
on
the
the
key.
Sova, having Divide on the Killjoy, right? These were Sentinels that were able to play around the map, were able to lock things down very convincingly. That was a key strength of Paper Rex back then. And here, you change it up completely on its head, and we're just seeing very big disconnection at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mental thing for them, but we'll see if they can frag themselves back in the game, if anything. Right now, they have the guns, of course, but still, smoke's up and online, and right now, it's going to be the B site under attack. DRX have already planted their boots firmly into the ground, Vayne in with a single headshot. Hyunmin looks to take that player out from upper, but also something just getting into safety.
Quick in towards this B site and a protective pit as well. I mean, how do you get into this retake as Paper Rex?
Killjoy को
That's
देखो
gonna be tough
भाई।
for sure. Be it Forsaken can do something, but he's on it. On top of all things, the ult as well, and it continues to work against Paper Rex's dismay. At the same time, Flashback coming up from behind. Bane repositioning around as well. The pit might fall, and Paper Rex might be able to push up, but you are absolutely right, Komodo. They are running out of time. Bit of Tejo utility. The Armageddon rings through. They're off of the spike. They might have yellow under control, but do they find the frags? That is the key here. Something tries as he does. He manages to take away two, but needs a little bit more. Flashback suddenly now up from behind reveals the surprise that Paper Rex does not have any control whatsoever.
Yeah, pretty quick explosion in towards the B site from them, and
Enough
I'm thinking to
flank.
myself, if they're able to get in here, get a pick or not, but if you get the pick, the Viper's pit down, it's going to be so difficult for them to get back in towards a retake. I'm looking at Paper Rex. You mentioned that there's an operator in there, right, for Forsaken. It's a difficult weapon to get in towards it, specifically on this waylay where you're trying to see players that are adopting it, getting in quick, getting the information, maybe a kill, and then refracting back out, right? Already using that ability earlier on, no longer available. Yes, you could try and use your ultimate to get your team in towards it, it, but you just look at that B side, how disconnected DRX are from the actual position. It's awkward. And you switch in towards the next round, we've got an immediate assault being shut down. These pistols of Paper Rex not able to find too much.
Yeah, this pistols, after all, you gotta imagine, doesn't feel too good. At least Jing will be able to get away with one up on pipes, but at the same time, back into got a little bit of
Ring around the rosy.
loop. Yeah, that's right. Mindfreak spotted up by the alarm bot. Oh, and turns around. Hello, flashbacks there. And with that, an open B side as well for DRX.
Yeah, maybe you can take that gun away if the main did drop. I mean, Devi's already got that in possession too, right? So let's see what damage is going to be able to be delivered in this scenario. You're playing towards ultis here as well. You're saying who's going for the plant, freeing, get closer towards an Armageddon. You're never going to mind that with how successive that ultimate can be.
Yeah. All of these just point towards even more rounds for DRX.
Yeah.
You know, closer ultimates, but at the same time, looking at this, the positioning that they are working with so far, you have to imagine at some
next round
point,
मेरे हिसाब से सीधा B fight
don't
करेंगे.
have these traps around the map. You know, DRX gets to walk around so much. Mako just into this spot. Okay, gunned down by Devi, but now it's on to flashback, up by mid. Jing at least marks down the position. So a couple kills. That is still a bit of damage being delivered by Paper Rex.
Yeah, there's a lot of credits, however, for DRX. So they're not going to be too phased on the back of this one. I mean, you'll just take away a death orb, right? So you get a little bit closer towards your ultimates to have a massive round later on, which is kind of the position that we're starting to kind of need from Paper X, though, right? We need a massive round to come out from them because they're going for a little bit of this space control, right? We see it over at B earlier on where there's no DRX members home. We see it in this pistol round where they attempt the same sort of thing, but over at this A site, there's DRX members, but they get shut down, right? So we're kind of seeing, all right, cut PRX a little bit of slack if they go for something like a stack, right? I wouldn't mind seeing them go for a bit of a stack, go for a full retake if DRX do not go towards their site, but also in a stack scenario, don't get too aggressive. You've got a lot of this utility that you can stall DRX out, and if you make them reset, you buy yourself a lot of time.
That's exactly what Paper X has to do. Here it comes, quick dash in, oh, but instantly gunned down. The entire Korean squad will deny Forsaken. Spike dropped into safe positions as well. The Armageddon sent through. Mindfreak being able to hold down the entire B by himself. Hello, that's good. And at the same time now, continuing to push out front. Devi off the null command, unfortunately gunned down. Still kind of ringing through, pulsing away with his ultimate, but his teammate now coming back in for support.
Sniffing things out with the drone as well. Feels like you're not going to be able to get Devi back on up. The trade starts coming out. It's all Mindfreak.
As his head gets revealed as well. Flashback, trying to work around it. Still looking to play the objective. The spike will go down. Mindfreak just tries to delay a little bit further with the snake bite. Might be able to gun himself through. He hears the tap at the very least, but not quite finding a position. Still has to watch out for flashback. There it is, at least the first kill. Nanoswarms instantly popped, and flashback looks to play around the wall. But Mindfreak will spot him out. An entire ace in the round being picked up by the Indonesian player.
Individual moments. Generally memorable in Valorant, right? For Paper X, that is an important one in this series right now to get back in towards this map, hopefully. To start with a foot in front of the other on this map, Mindfreak to do it all. And you've got to remember as well, right? I'm saying at the beginning of this round, if you're going for a stack, not to get too aggressive, because we haven't really seen too much success setting up Forsaken on the back of these waylay positions, right? He gets on in, but there's too many DRX members that look at that position because there's a quick time, right, to get that gun out. But I think more importantly, Mindfreak planted his feet around that B side. He knew where they were coming from. He knew Mako was going to be lurking up towards Kitchen or somewhere in that round, and he found what he needed to.
And that's what you gotta love. Now, although Forsaken with a waylay instantly dashes onto the top of Tube, doesn't see anything though. And that's where his refrag gets called out. Mindfreak comes back in just to help out his fallen teammate. At the same time though, DRX still working all the ways around the map. Flashback takes down the next player, something.
Yeah, but you immediately just turn tail and run over towards the A side because you got the kill here from the back of Flashback, from the shadows to quickly get a plant. This buys so much time in the rotation actually from Paper X right now. Mindfreak has a pit, but you got to get into the site to even try and use that. I wouldn't be surprised if you just go for a save here.
It's going to be tough. DRX have all that time. They've already set themselves up towards further positions. So you are absolutely right. It's just a little bit too risky. especially at this point in the first half.
I do like, again, the idea that Paper X have these plans of action for what Waylay is to provide, right? When you're trying to light speed over towards the tube, you're trying to find some timing in combination with a flash, right? So you'll be seeing Divide try and set up a flash drive with right timing to get that peek over to find anybody who's lurking into mid, where Marco has been playing so much this map so far, right? But he just kind of holds W, shifting up, gets in front of that utility. You see generally really timing needed though with the drive or with players around the world.
That's the thing, Komodo, because although these combos can work out, they haven't really gotten the right reads to figure out where DRX are.
Or timing, right? So those flashes, they have to be timed to perfection, because if that flash drive that'll come out is not timed right, you're either not getting any flash value against your opponents, or you're flashing Forsaken at that moment, and he needs a little bit of time by that flash for his equipment, right? He needs to get that gun out. So a nice idea, execution, not
का 1 लाख मजाक नहीं है.
Workshopped a little bit further, but at the same time, I mean, right now, just playing for that information game, DRX have been slipping under their noses every single round. Whether it's back onto the other end of the sites. This time, though, Forsaken will be able to sneak up onto Nest and get one for free.
Yeah, freeing down. That's a lot of your scaling utility to sniff out what's around the site down as well. Now you'll just play by the numbers, doubling up in towards the elbow. When you've got a little bit of lesser equipped players, something only down onto the Sheriff, you need to see a little bit of corners be cut.
Binks by G का क्या होगा?
An opening kill, and then everyone's just covering a base.
Setup. Just trying to mark for it as well. Off angles all being held. Swaps up over onto the top of pipes. That's Mako down. The next player as well. Forsaken just throwing off crosshair placements with a refract. And Bane trying to stay alive. Spots up Forsaken, but the Salvos continue to bomb away at his position.
Good ball,
Really quick utility to come out from him as well. I love that saturate comes out. Just provides him enough time to reposition his aim to go for these multi-frags too. They didn't overcook things in that round as Paper X. Pretty followable. Sending in Forsaken to find the opening kill, resetting yourselves as a team. If DRX, rotate over towards the B site, you've still got players there because you haven't bit the bullet and rotated early enough as well. Really good resilience to come through from Paper X here.
That's exactly what they've needed so far. Scoreline might be a little bit similar to the previous map right now, and so I would be looking much forward to a Paper X comeback. Keep it simple, smarty pants, and that's what they're looking to do. Still though, a 2-2-1 split in with a Viper's Pit around the A site.
Oh, but look at this, quick. Wow. Up through mid,
towards
something. That's immediately going to send the guys back over towards the B side as well, because a pit generally at this A site, if you can try and get over it, and you're not detected, you can crunch on towards Mindfreak in a potential split. So the onus really is on Paper X here to get some information in the next couple of moments to try and bring a little bit more stability back in towards this round.
They haven't quite been able to do so, though. Instead, in fact, it is DRX getting the information in with the stealth drone out. Still, though, wow, look at this setup. A bit outside the window, it turns out to be a high-low lockdown in place as well now.
Yeah, and that lockdown is going to flush Mindfreak out of his pit, so that's an ultimate for an ultimate exchange and affords you a little bit of time to get a plant. Meanwhile, Marco finds the timing on the flank as well, and Hunman found Mindfreak too.
Yeah, and off those positions now, Paper X find themselves in the top first spot. Forsaken just having to hold outside. Needs to look for Mako before he even gets close to screens. Sends in the stun though, and that's the headshot through. Off to the other end. It's just Jing trying to work alongside his brother, basically.
Team round चाहिए. Huh?
Might just give him a bit of space, but is it going to be enough? A frag through. Jing goes for the tap. Forsaken onto the other side, but no! Freeing spots him out instead. A double kill to close out the round, and DRX find yet another one on the board.
If DRX members were playing on the side itself, that convergent pass would have been great, right? Remove their ability to essentially shoot back and reposition around that A site, and then maybe you get a really good retake happening on in. But the fact that DRX just get themselves out of the site, start to play a little bit more post-planty-like, right? They kind of recognize that ultimate is available, and generally you would either see one of two positions where that might go. Cutting off the site of elbow in towards jail, or towards the site itself. And unfortunately for Paper X, it was the latter. And didn't really catch anyone. Into a new gun round, however, and it's again an immediate control of wanting to attempt pipes.
Yeah, we do have 0 point from Devi already clearing out B main though, so back towards A, everyone's kind of flooding back through. Guns in hand, Forsaken for the info. No shot found exactly, but still, at least he confirms that where DRX is heading towards. Back into it, that's a bit of a snake bite, but Jing holds true. Huh? Though, what is this? All the way towards the back of Raptors, and he finds a couple. now down to it, Something and Mind Freak trying to reclaim space, but timing's already been lost and afforded to DRX. Viper's Pit up and online.
Timing now.
And guys, thank you for the free membership with Jan Kyote.
Trying at the very least, but working up around pipes is just too much to clear. Mako slips out of the Viper's Pit and takes down his counterpart. Goes down. There it is.
अगर छोटा beam 4 second गा सकता है
Good
तो ये
assists
हो
from
सकता
Divine in there. Flash drives to permit his team to get a
Where
couple of
is
kills,
this
but
the
you
same
overlook
bro?
the fact
ऐसा
that
लगता
Bane
है same
can
ही है.
TP across and jump over.
पहले भी throw होता था,
He
अभी
gets
भी हो.
behind him. Some trades to come out from him as well, and just looking at it, I mean, a double kill to come out really sets up the team for a strong post plant when you consider that a pit is available as well. DRX a really good grasp at the moment, I feel like, with some shake-ups sure, on how to deal with this Forsaken aggression. And when he sees too many numbers, he does just dispatch out of that one too. So last round of the half right now, kind of similar story.
And I think that's one of those weaknesses that we start to see as well alongside this refract, right? It takes time for you to travel all the way back to a back position. And with that, DRX then gets the flood in. So at the same time now, even with the toxic screen, DRX gets to plant the spike down on site.
And both teams have the Armageddon at the moment too, so it really comes down to the value that you can be able to find behind this.
And off of that now, not just the plant, some ultimates online as well. Jing might have the Armageddon, but Fring has his as well, so they go in towards the back, looking for Fring instead, and just as right, they managed to take him down. Bane now trying to hold back. The Armageddon gets sent through. Not quite finding Bane though, but he does kind of reposition even further in. The clock continues to tick against Forsaken. Makes quick work. Nice! And he gets another tap. 2 kills already, and now he's been in for another. Something alongside Jing and Binks, but not quite broken. They will get the final round in this first half.
He's on 5 HP, and he still finds 2 kills. That is very quick trigger shots to come out from him there. Something that we would generally associate with him, right? But not on a waylay so far. Not too much value, I gotta say, that you're getting out of it. You're not convincing value that you would say waylay is an argument to play instead of a Jet, for example, or a Raze, for example, on a couple of the other maps in the pool. But we're starting to see some value here and there. It's learning. It's a new agent. You got to find strengths. You got to find weaknesses. And this is, again, Paper X shaking things up. New agents to come out for them, shifts in roles. But the fundamentals, taking space, switching up between speed, between patience. We're seeing a lot more patience come out from them at the moment.
Which is kind of lovely. You might say that the start of the season is the best time to really try something new and experiment a little bit. That is what we've known Paper X to do, be creative, innovative. It's lovely to see, but you just need them to keep themselves in the game, not really let the pressure get to them. And that's why I really want to think that as fans, you know, if you are a true fan, you won't call him a fraud. You just want to keep on supporting them no matter what they do. And just hope that one day they truly come back in their true form. At the same time, though, as you mentioned, fundamentals, my oh my, DRX. How clean do they look, especially with the start of this first half? It's like 6 rounds straight in a row before dropping anything.
Yeah, and then you're going a little bit backwards and forwards, and no one's really finding consecutive rounds until the
party music का कुछ कर सकता है.
But again, your job's kind of done for what you needed to find in the first half.
9-3 में वो कर रहा है.
Playing a little bit more defensive DRX, and a difference that they have is an actual Sentinel, right? So I'm going to be keen to see what Flashback is going to do, what positions he's going to be playing around the map. I mean, more importantly, covering off mid, covering off B, and in general.
That's exactly what they've got with their toolkit. So right now, just
दो headphone में same आवाज कैसे करूँ? ठीक है.
Continue to tap away, but not finding anything too much around mid.
Toxic screen up, can permit a safe passage across as well and just obfuscate what Hyunmin can see. So if you're talking about some protocols, these are the things that, are kind of bread and butter when it comes to Icebox.
Wow. Drone up as well. Hyunmin tucks himself into the corner. Whoa! Wait, Forsaken knew where he was, but he was still able to get the headshot nonetheless. In with the timing on the recoil. Still, Paper X will continue to push on through with a bit of a contact play. Something Jing just flooding back sight. They managed to get it done. The gets planted. Mako arrives, word screens at the right time, but needs to spot everyone out. Toxic screen comes up though. And that's where now Paper Rex gets to hang back. Mako has got quite a bit of work cut out for him.
Absolutely. And you'll take some decay going through that as well, so you really want to try and not do that if you're in a 1 versus 3. Now position being spotted, I mean, this is going to be extremely difficult for Marco.
Okay. Well, he has been known to pull off insane clutches, but I don't think it's going to happen quite in this round. Paper X, they have him completely surrounded, especially with something making the long trip all the way up mid towards his back. So Paper X trying to find himself back in the game so far.
Yeah, big strength in numbers as well when they start to find kills around the site after Hyunmin was able to get the open up. So all of them raging through the smokes, so the walls together and setting yourself up for a pretty nice post lane, right? You're always going to kind of follow in the narrative that if you're at a deficit in a map of Valorant, you need to find the pistol, especially if you're something like an 8-4, a 9-3, or albeit like a 10-2. And the fact that PRX are actually able to find the pistol around, and hopefully this second round for them will start to get them a little bit more confident in towards this.
Confidence, a very much needed resource. Forsaken though right now, feeling a little bit of confidence as well, does spot out his opponent, Bane. Just right up around 410. That's going to be the site for Paper X. Quick plants
Question
in
है कि क्या ये लोग सारे spikes से मरेंगे?
Just looking for whatever they can get.
I wouldn't mind something getting activated in these duels as well to get closer to a Hunter's Fury. He's 2 off.
तो मतलब जाता है पैसा.
Does have the Vandal.
Right hand तो मतलब आ रहा है.
Still though, he's playing into a very defensive position. It's going to be Jing holding the off angle instead. Forsaken with a bit of a
Spike से मरो ना.
Spots out 1. Continues to push forward off
वही
of
वही
the
plan है.
utility, and that's going to be flashback taking him down now. Davai alongside Jing. Okay, spotted out by Mako.
Guns गिर रहा है अभी.
Don't want to lose too much here, guys. Going to be Mind Freak now off towards the back of mid, spotting out yet another player. No real exits quite yet simply found for DRX. And just flashback now.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, imagine a world in which everybody disconnected from the site and you somehow something's kind of looking after that one from the back of the rafters, one away from the Hunter's Fury, and the way that they've just kind of dealt respect towards this A side as well and commanded the respect, rather. I wouldn't be surprised if he's either getting a pick or an orb or plan or something, and then they can play a Hunter's Fury in a post lane in this bonus round, and that's what this is, right? It's a bonus round. We actually got some pretty good damage as DRX in the previous round, so setting up for this round now, you're looking towards all the Vandals. An Outlaw was seen though, so for Mind Freak, you've got to consider that's in play. We've got to go for full shields. Are we playing off and losing any bits of utility because of that?
Best was वो अपने ही बंदे को मारा है.
Defensive force, and now in with the ascended position, Hyunmin will be able to pick 2 off. It's like a
हम लोग जो हंसते ना
skies now. Paper Rex
Other
scrambling,
times map
looking
के
for
ऊपर था वो.
some sort of safety. But I don't know if it's going to be found, Komodo. I mean, take a look at the minimap. Freeing's all the way up towards down
वालों
mid.
का बात
And
कर
you've
रहा
got no
है
quick
अब
availability
मार
to
रहा
get
था
across towards yellow either here, right? So you kind of need to combine a dart and a good shot. You need an overextension here, essentially, from DRX to
कहते हुए
kind
देख
of
के
give
मुझे
you
भूख
ways
लगता
back
है
to around
एक्शन.
Paper X.
You said it during the halftime break. Fundamentals is what DRX does so well, and they're doing that all across
Oh
the
यार,
map. Mako
almost था वो.
holding down around yellow. It allows Hyunmin to push into a further position as well, and at this point, something just has to peak over
Oh, nice.
anything. Finds a double, which is pretty good for now. 40 seconds left on the clock.
Is this where it gets scary?
Maybe.
क्या लगता है देखो something है.
Is continuing to play it safe though.
Hey!
Okay, a bit of a jump peek.
Arre!
Paranoia sent through, and
क्या दिखते
not
thinking है.
suspecting something will get caught out by
मेरी
Mako.
लाइक गोल्ड है
Well
इसलिए
navigated
बंगा वाला
round
फॉर्म
from
फिल ने
DRX.
किया
I'm a little bit surprised
बाद
that
में
there's
पता
no
चला हर
Aldrin
रंग वाला
immediately
लौड़ा
from
हाँ.
Forsaken or no Teo utility as well
Yes,
to come out from
sir.
main, because that's one of the general things that you start to see in Icebox, right? If you're not blocking out the vision of somebody on top yellow,
नहीं कर रहा हूँ
through
मैं, नहीं
drones,
कर रहा
through
हूँ.
smokes, through
Yeah,
flashes,
tension
they're
मत.
just going to have free reign to get the kills, and that's
Sorry.
exactly what Hyunmin was able to do. So we might see that change up a little bit quickly for Paper X if they want to contend with this B site in the next couple of rounds.
नाइसा 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 रुको दिखाते हैं नाइसा रुको.
Generally go their way, a bonus round does.
Yeah, they just continue to get to
अभी जित पे बात आई है.
movement across the map this way, but with that Hunter's Fury from the previous round, here it comes. Something looking to force DRX to scramble on the A site. Meanwhile, Forsaken straight in with a light speed.
नाइसा नाइसा
2 headshots.
नाइसा.
Playing that weapon.
Nice,
so
nice.
straight in. I'll add on the back of that Hunter's Fury, tagging him up as well, right? Recognizing that you can quickly go towards that one and materialize an ace control.
Savings.
That's really good from Paper Rex.
baby.
I would say that those headshots are as crisp as a Coke with max ice on a summer day. What else is crisp, Komodo?
Sorry, Mako, bye. Sorry.
Mako's headshots
I would like
as well.
to very apologize.
It's definitely something to work against. DRX, you know, those fundamentals stay true.
Yeah, that's a quick one as well to come out from Paper Rex, right? So when you think about previous round being a little bit slower, you catch DRX off guard, don't have enough time to get any other members over towards the site. You kind of need the members that are there trying to bunker down A to do something.
Once lost it touch of
Waylay,
playing
right?
Valorant.
Teams
खेलते
trying to
रहने
also
का
figure out
touch
a bigger
आ
play against them. How does this saturate actually play? If you get spotted out, right, and Forsaken throwing that saturate over towards you, you're not going to be able to do too much if you don't already have an established crossfire. So just a little bit of utility difference in that mark, working a treat towards Paper Rex. And
Since I was kidding, love you.
Well. I mean, you're starting to see attacking-sided rounds, them figuring out momentum, them figuring out what layering of utility that they may need to do in the round that they can't rely on an ultimate in the beginning to open something up.
See, it works out because you've got these smokes, and it just allows for Forsaken to get into a...
Oh, bye, language.
We're all looking for. That said, though, you only have that many chances. CHUMMI now in with a timeout.
Support DRX. First super chat to you and love you, Binks.
To work against a potential assault being launched by Forsaken. You mentioned the refract. As long as you have, a secondary player to mark some of these possible dive spots, shall we call it, they can always gun down Forsaken, even though the stun might get sent through.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking towards anything like a recon from your Sova, from a drone from Mateo. If you 0-point them, or even if you just stop them, that's going to allow a lot of ability for yourselves to just send Forsaken in and then hopefully find a kill. If your team's also looking at the other positions where you would expect a crossfire to be, right? So it's never going to be a bad idea, but coming in towards a new round, right? I'm talking about these ultimates trying to open something up, which is what we saw in the last round. It can be a very different look when you've got a Waylay here, and you're converting cut off pretty much half of this ace.
She's young. Language.
That is factual. We shall see how that might work out in the upcoming round. Salvos, both sides instantly traded off. Does buy a little bit of time for DRX to get into closer positions. Bane from the shadows onto the top of pipes.
Starting to get a little bit of your scaling utility in towards the site, and you are just going to Waylay right on in. As I said, cuts off half of the site.
Behind you. Well, it's Forsaken, but Bane just leaves it to his teammates. Forsaken continuing to get further space. Trust in his teammates to watch his back. Bane does go down. Divine now continuing with the push in towards back site. 2 kills to his belt. Trying to work alongside Screw. Start things off, though.
Nice.
On the site at the moment with Mind Freak to get a bit of a...
Nice.
Exactly what he's looking for. Finds the timing on the peak as well. Gets off it, and unsuspecting Hyunmin, and that's going to be another round for Paper Rex.
And a non-conversion as well for DRX on the back of the timeout in the previous round here too. So Paper Rex, again, it is a round that they are able to convert, opening it up with an ultimate. I really like the idea from them as well, converting pass on in. Anyone that is going to be stuck in that, well, they're essentially going to be dead to rights, and then you start to shift focus on towards the right side of the site, and you've got strength in numbers there. You've got everybody with guns up, no one picking out utility where they don't need to. There's a strong game plan for how to attack that round as Paper Rex, because they were afforded time to talk about how they wanted to do it.
That's exactly what those Coach Alex timeouts will do. Off of successful A rounds, now we're back in towards B. And with DRX playing in towards defensive positions, Forsaken gets to go all the way up front. Ooh, tagged down to 1 HP by Mako, though. Still, the spike at least goes down. Hyunmin in with the blades, looking for something, but nothing found.
Got to get in there. Got to get set up somehow to try and work these blades as well.
Oh, and look at this. All that happens at the same time. Mind Freak once again back into mid to try to set up something towards the back. Still though, it's going to be a couple of kills coming back in, back and forth, all around yellow. Fraying tries to work around the position, but it's not going to be enough as Paper Rex
W baby,
going to come through from DRX, not able to play too much on the back of Hyunmin's blades. Able to set him up when you're playing a kind of flashless comp, right? Disregard the paranoia that with an uncommon
80 years
position in a map
जब
like
तक मैं नहीं
Icebox,
होता
don't
ना
see
तब
Omen too
तक तो मैं
much.
स्ट्रीमिंग करने
There's
वाला
not a lot of availability to
इतना नहीं
you know,
करूंगा
flash drive
शायद
over or something like that
लेकिन
towards
दिन
yellow to
में
say, let's
एक
go
बार
for a peek
2
and
hours
really just
बकचोदी
free
with
bleed
बुढ़ाओ
everybody over
Binks
at B long. So you
ऐसा
kind of
एक
need to set him up a
एपिसोड
different way. And
निकालो
in this position, it's kind of a little bit drier when you're
और
just sending
पूरा
in the
ज्ञान
cell
पे
drone
लेंगे
to spot what you can
पूरा
with
ज्ञान
abilities. Paper X have a good grasp on what they
Every
need to do
Sunday
to defend the
because
site there.
बाकी दिन
And
ये
now,
लोग
importantly,
office
we're getting
होते
into a new fresh gun
Huh?
round. No salvos
Every
in the
Sunday.
beginning of
ऐसा
this round.
वीकेंड
Bane is pushing up on towards the belt. So there's going to be a
Weekends.
very fast flank available actually towards
हर
this B
वीकेंड
side.
में किधर जाके बीच साइड से करेंगे बीच साइड से
Still though,
खून
Paper X
जलाने के लिए
controlling down mid. Does
ये
work
अपन
out for them
chillings
so
कर रहे हैं
far. Forsaken continuing onward with that refract. Does get further information. And look at this, Bane all the way down mid, down A. He's able to take away at least 2. The Armageddon now gets set through.
Yeah, stalling for time at the moment to afford a bit of rotations and re-clearing in towards
दोनों
mid. If
बोट
there was
हाउस के
anybody
लिए अगर
else
बोट
there,
आएगा ना
they
तो
got player
हाउस अपने
advantage
आप
as
आएगा
DRX as well.
लव यू यार रोज शार्क टैंक देखो आप हो
Stunned,
किधर
but nothing quite found. Jing at least
Huh?
disperses the positioning.
अमन भाई
And on with that.
Man,
Bit of an
imagine
Armageddon
if
set
मैं
through
उधर
as well.
पहुंच गई
Forsaken
थी
now
सीधा।
off of the initial ult. Will be able to find another player playing all around the bottom though. It's gonna be
फिर बच्चे
Mako
का stream
working
देखेंगे।
alongside Hyunmin, but still
वो
something
gamer बनेगा कि
alongside
नहीं मालूम
Jing
नहीं ना।
will do what is needed.
हमारा
Really
वो
nice
नहीं
ultimates
है
come through from Jing there actually to dislodge freeing.
जो
It was
बनना है
any
बनने दो।
salvos on the arm.
गल्ला
right
नहीं
there.
बनना चाहिए बस
A little bit
I mean,
unfortunate, but it's what you need to
मेरे
see.
जैसा
Right? If you
हरामी
want to
नहीं
play a
बनना चाहिए
deficit in that sort of scenario, you need to see somebody either rely on some positioning or a good decisive call. And in this moment, it's a bit of utility combinations to come on out. When you see those salvos come from that position as well, you got a little bit of a disconnected play at the tail end for the remainder of the kills for Paper X there. So starting to really build some stability in towards this attacking side within one.
Excuse
And
me,
we've
sir.
only
Litmus-
seen one defense
Litmus
round, the
mod.
bonus
Yeah,
round
yeah,
so
yeah.
far come through for DRX.
लिटमस ने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ले लिया मेरे से
हाँ
And Paper X are feeling
जनरेशनल मॉड्स
themselves.
का
It's definitely a
जनरेशनल
really
मॉड
tough opponent to work
कितने का लिया
against, and that's
contract?
one thing that we've got to consider as well, is the
3
fact
million.
that some of these
कपड़ा
DRX
पहनने बोलना
players
लेकिन
haven't
बस।
quite played against Paper X like this before, perhaps in scrims, but not quite on the official stage. Still though, Hyunmin aggressively in towards Mirage. He is stuck, flashed up as well, and it does buy a bit of attention away. Paper X looking to
भाई
reclaim
क्या
space.
स्कोर था
As
9-3
the poison cloud comes up.
Yeah, and everybody was kind of in mid for DRX at that moment too. So where do you scurry towards? Where do you think that Paper X are actually going to lean? An ult orb to be gathered over at the B side and setting yourself DRX there. But yep, at the end, Paper X, as you mentioned, will tie things up.
It's 3
Is to come back off to you know, get a little bit antsy when you know Flashback is losing his teammates. He wants to try and go something and a loose spray through the pit. Vandals are traced.
DRX have been looking for, you know, a couple of solutions. They are still sitting on a timeout, so that
And we are back, boys!
Refresh,
Refresh,
Paper X still managed to get ahead of it, thanks to, I gotta imagine, just Forsaken on the waylay, right? He was able to dash in, to break some lines.
भाई नेट का नहीं है भाई मैं गेम देख पा रहा था
And that just forced DRX to
बाकी
kind
लोग
of
का हो रहा है क्या
reset. And with that reset, Paper X came back in with Defy and Mindfreak working alongside one another. Still though, as I mentioned, the timeout
बाकी लोग का हो रहा है
now
क्या
gets deployed.
किसी
Yeah,
मेरा
from
हो रहा है
DRX as well. So you definitely want to see this one converted in the next. It didn't get to last time, right? So on the waylay point, right? You generally want to see the waylay go in, get a kill, you refract out, and you've provided enough space and info for your team to
मेरा ही
follow
हुआ,
you in
hello?
and then trade roles, right? Essentially, you get your initiators or your sentinels or your controller to go on in. That's a general
चल रहा है
idea.
बराबर
But the
अरे
fact
लेकिन
that that's not what happens in this round. You stop,
छिड़का भी
pause
हुआ
for a
था
moment, you rethink, and then you
उसको
re-clear
आईटी का
in
इश्यू
towards
है
the
भाई
site. It's another
मेरा
option
नेट
that
एकदम
waylay
फर्स्ट क्लास
isn't
चल
just
रहा
this
है
dive in and get out. Job's done for your team, right? There's more to the story that
fair,
Paper X can tell us right now with this agent composition.
आओ 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 आओ
They
आओ
picked it for a very good reason.
कमर गया मेरा बैटिश
Shall
है
see how it does continue to play out across the map.
13 नोट से बिल मत मारा एक्सक्यूज मी
Point. DRX though sitting on quite the number of
चलो
ultimates.
Yeah, well, same
11,
concept for
10,
Taken
12,
here, right?
10,
We saw
13,
good success
10.
when the conversion
I'm
path
calling
was
it.
used over at the A site last time. If you're going in with the same sort of methodology,
क्या हो गया
well
किधर है
aware here
वो
to get
लोग
yourselves on
तीन
that point.
इनिशिएटेड तीन
Correct.
Sorry.
At least starting things off a little bit slow. Look at Mindfreak all the way towards the back of spawn as well, in case anyone pushes out of mid.
तुमने
DRX
क्या
hasn't
मेरे को
done
नहीं
that
मालूम
quite yet, especially off the timeout. Paper X,
विशाल भाई मत
Trying to be
करो यार
cautious.
कुछ है ही नहीं
gotta love it.
Yeah, but for DRX as well, right? A little bit lesser equipped on the weaponry to afford themselves a good buy in the next round if this one goes haywire, because that'll be map point then. So you're just playing a little bit of default heavy. What information do you see from Paper X before you start to make a move? And at the moment, it might be a money move, Quack.
Money move it is. just straight in with the ultimate. Well, no.
I love that.
DRX जीतेगा.
Refract just popped over on Pipes, and he's sending in a snake spite so that if he goes for a challenge, takes any damage and refracts back, there's a time that he has where he's stuck in that refract.
भाई मेरे को लगा
and
A
he might die
ready
towards that
होएगा
volley.
बे.
So that's a really
ये
good
4 second
counter,
cult
quickly
है.
recognized for DRX.
Still though, at the very least, PaperX has managed to kind of avoid that for now. Looking for that mid-round play down, well, mid lane. They do spot a player out though, and Forsaken looking for the opportunity to possibly set the ultimate, but not quite yet, as DRX have all of these positions locked down, especially up by Upper, especially up by Kitchen now. Forsaken looking to push on through. Time is of the essence, but at the same time, DRX, they might not have best guns, but they're still holding a lot of these positions. PaperX, Forsaken, trying to break on through. There's the ult, finally gets popped. 10 seconds remaining though. Where is the spike? Forsaken now gets into safety. Finally getting the bomb now down, delivered through. Bane though,
They know he's stuck.
quick and through, and he's found Mind Freak. Mako trying to work along the position, plays around the safe angle, quick strays back and forth, but Forsaken, he actually finds it down to just Bane. But where could he be? Oh! A little bit wider than before! And Forsaken finds the headshot, a quad kill in the round, as well as a clutch brought to you.
भाई मुंह में आ गए थे
Clutch to come out from
भाई.
Forsaken. I mean, what? He got 2 kills earlier on in the map with 5
Oh,
HP. This time it's 6, but it's the clutch to come from him at the end there. I was thinking to myself in this scenario, it's a 2 versus 2.
मेरे को
Right?
लगा
You
ये
can't
round
really
गया
get a good
11
crossfire
11
at the moment there for DRX when you're going for that one.
Let's
And
go!
then you make it a more winnable
Alex,
scenario,
wait
but you
up.
get it into a 1 versus 2.
Good.
And Forsaken just rips your heads off. That is
भाई है
absolutely
बे.
pivotal.
बंदा
for
है,
DRX
कुछ
here.
भी बोलो बे, है बे. हर एजेंट खेलता है, हर बार कुछ ना कुछ करता है, हर बार मारता है. है.
Hyunmin has done it before, but now spotted out. Safer play coming out from PaperX.
All that utility just dumped on towards him, and he hasn't been able to get out of yellow, but somehow he's able to find it whilst hindered. He needs assistance from his teammate, but he's just going to do it all himself. Traded eventually in a 3 versus 3.
दो मारे
Pulled out the
उसने.
blades, but yeah, unfortunately gunned down still though. Up around yellow. Can PaperX find enough footing, enough space to get the spike down? Not quite, because they gotta imagine DRX already have rotated over.
Marco's been holding on to this Viper's pit for quite a while as well. So you
अब
might
ये
want
लोग
to
को
see
मालूम
using this
पड़ेगा
round
कि
if they
लड़कर
do
क्या
need.
दिक्कत देता है.
Yeah, PaperX possibly trying to bait it
ठीक
out.
है, वाइपर को
Still
देखो,
up
वाइपर को
tap.
देखो.
Ching up around yellow does spot out one of these players. That's gonna be Bane. At the same time, given how the map is playing out, it's gonna be Mind Freak slowly creeping up all the way out tube. DRX has no earthly idea. Mako though tries to play the position.
जीत गए बेबे.
Yellow, it's gonna be the kill. It's gonna be the final score, 13-10.
Lots of
Map
aggression on
3
that attacking
बोलते.
side through from PaperX, but I think I was
है क्या
way
क्या?
more impressed in how they're managing the aggression with the stopping power as well from them, right? Both in terms of Forsaken getting active, the rest of the team getting active there as well, but being more passive. I think this is a new look to PaperX at the moment where they're recognizing in the map what is working against DRX currently, who are usually the more
Hey, sound like a
methodical team,
fair
right?
promotion,
PaperX are usually
ठीक है?
more sporadic at the moment. And I
मेरा
think
जीव
that's
सब
coming
बराबर
down to
चल रहा है,
the
ठीक
agent
है?
changes, right? The role
हाँ.
changes, the picks that they're coming out with right
Sound
now.
like a-
But
I
in
think
the
you are
map
from
itself
Airtel.
here, that attacking side, they
हाँ?
didn't actually do too much wrong in
पता है
terms of
अंबानी के पास
beginning,
कितना पैसा
middle,
है?
and end of the
जब
rounds. with
से
even
शादी हुई है
losing
तब
opening.
से थोड़ा सा नेट
it
में
was
लेफ्ट
mostly
राइट हो
the
रहा है,
defensive
बट
half where they kind of struggled a little bit, but like you mentioned, once they swapped over onto these attacking side,
Huh?
especially with that waylay at the helm,
Binks,
at the tip of the
how
spear,
to
the entire
survive
team started to
from
figure out
wife
options,
DH
started to
tell the
figure out more
truth.
ways to work against DRX's defensive
सबसे
setup. Like you mentioned
important
before as well,
बात
you know, maybe
रखो ही मत ना तो
at the
इतना
कि
same
सारा
time,
जब
alongside
आसपास हो
that,
तभी
refresh
ट्रुथ नहीं
position,
बोलने का.
but unfortunately, PaperX
That
kind
is
of
step number
anticipated
1.
that as well.
Yeah, well, that means we get a
So
3
I
mapper
hope
coming
that
in
tip
towards
helped.
this series too, and I know there is a lot of
समझ रहे हो?
Lesser
ये most
RX
important
fans
trip
in the
है. जब भी
world,
ऐसा
so
देखने का
maybe a
इधर
little
इधर
bit
है.
more of a delivery service coming in towards this one today.
And that
So-
is always going to be lovely. A very exciting match for sure, but that remains to be found. You know, is DRX going to move upwards on this trajectory as they get on board in the season? Or is PaperX going to away from the shadow of their former selves? I mean, they're looking a lot better now, especially on this Icebox. But what does the next map look like?
40 रुपए
Yeah,
में मेरी
absolutely. I mean,
गांड
we've
मार
seen
रही
some
है.
changes
को
from
नहीं
these
हो रहा है,
teams
एक
steering
how
away
to
from what they used to
survive.
play too, right? So Lotus, I don't
एक
think we're going
ट्वीट
to see
बनता
anything
है
better.
कुछ
Yeah,
क्या
maybe
बोलता है?
not quite. You know, DRX at the very least, we can expect something a little bit more comfortable.
कि ये
But
भी
for
delete
now, we
करो
will hand it
और वो
back
लोग को
to the
लड़ने दो.
comfortable couch on the desk alongside Chubby Ninja and the rest of the boys.
Thank you, Komodo and Quack. Yes, these seats are comfortable, but I am not. Fans of Paper
Never
Rex,
mind,
we are now re-experiencing the heart attack feeling. That definitely happened a lot in this map with our, one of the RXs. Now, it's been really interesting. You guys got what you wanted. You wanted the Icebox, you wanted the Waylay, and you wanted something different. Even from DRX, with the Omen, with Bane, you got a lot of things changing up here.
Oh, for sure. There's almost too much to talk about. He's part of that heart attack due to being down a player in pretty much every round.
It is definitely one of many reasons to make your heart, heart rate go up.
Incredible in mid-rounding. If you're down a player, in so many of these rounds, you're still winning 13-10. I mean, that's a great mid-rounding. I think Paper Rex, what impressed me on their attacking side, they had so many set ideas. I mean, they've got more util than you could know what to do with most of the time with this comp, but the way they used it to be able to minimize risk and just methodically clear areas of the map was super interesting to see. And then from there, playing the mid-round really, really well, whether it be where the Waylay is putting themselves after the double dash or being able to get some active lurks going in the mid-round.
Yeah, I think the PRX comp was so interesting because I think they really showed that when you go off meta, you have big weaknesses, but you also get big strengths, and they really understood that. Yes, their weaknesses were kind of exposed in that first half, but they could lean so heavily onto their strengths in the second half.
Well, yeah, we talk about some of those weaknesses. I think that the first thing that I wanted to highlight is something that we talked about compositionally when we got the agents, which is just, it's impossible to hold a lot of the map when you don't have a killjoy on defense. You can throw that orb up, but at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very hard to hold yellow, unfortunately, and this is the perfect example of it. DRX, they started so hot, and part of that was just due to bullying this comp and exposing its weaknesses.
Yeah, there's going to be so many gaps in a composition like this. With 3 initiators, you want to go and, dump your util in space and have the Waylay take it. But you can't really do that so much on the defense, so there's going to be gaps everywhere. Here we see Bane abusing it with a great double TP.
I mean, that was an insane Omen play. Like, Omen is kind of like an off-pick on this map, and I actually haven't really been that much of a fan of most double controller comps outside of maybe Harbor Viper, to be honest, but I was really convinced by the Omen, at least on attack. Did fall off a little bit more so on the defense, and his individual performance unfortunately did suffer that game.
Yeah, but great point about the Omen. We saw some really brilliant plays with Bane getting way back deep into sight, surprising Paper Rex, catching them off guard. And yeah, triple initiator, sort of like we saw in the first map with Haven with DRX. Like, what are you doing with this comp? You can't defend like this. And you could see why when, the coin flips, you're like, all right, this makes a lot more sense on attack.
Yeah, when you go into that second half, you're okay to leave gaps because, PRX can group together, they can death ball, so leaving gaps isn't a problem when you have a lot of util to just kind of punch that sideways.
Yeah, so I'm, at this point, now that we will be getting a map 3, after all, Lotus, things could be changing here too. This map obviously isn't new, but it has evolved a lot, and I think it's another one of those maps that have changed. But before any of that, of course, there's still so much to break down on Icebox.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about new things. I wanted to touch on the Waylay, and we look at a lot of the opening portions of this round. This is a full set play with all of the utility, and the Waylay just gets donated. Unfortunately, it's either you get a first kill or you lose a first kill, and unfortunately, in a lot of cases, there was some very fancy, flashy plays going on, and then the Waylay would just die for free.
I think it highlights the difference between Waylay and Jet, right? Jet is a lot safer because you're kind of going forward into your smokes. Waylay doesn't quite have that. This was a time where it worked a lot better, where Waylay actually seemed a little bit better than Jet. You can take this deep angle, and instead of having to dash out, you just magically float your way backwards. So really great understanding from PRX. Yeah, the refract. This was actually a set play that PRX loves to go aggressive down middle and down B long, consecutively at the same time. And you see, in this case, unfortunately, something's caught a little bit out of position, and again, they lose a first pick doing those kind of very aggressive plays, but you see the potential of it, the KO flash from border up over the top, and you get a double dash from the Waylay straight down B long, and within 5 seconds of the round, you have a Waylay in a very, very deep position, and that is the aggressive potential of the agent. MVP going over to Forsaken, who wants the player to play the duelist here, and I'm wondering if that's going to be something that they're kind of settling in structure-wise, because we've seen him
as we mentioned before, be very
Chota Bheem
flexible in
power.
terms of his Asian pool. But so
As
far,
soon as
he's
he
been the player
started
to play
singing Chota
duelists, and
Bheem.
I think you're a bit surprised, Vic, that he
This is the
wasn't
Chota
on the
Bheem.
waylay because he's been so good on Jet, right?
देखा कि नहीं तुम लोग
Oh,
ने?
absolutely.
Bheem.
Not Jet necessarily, but there are other players on Paper X who are excellent Jet players, such as something. So to have Forsaken on the waylay instead of Sova and playing it the way they did, but you know what? It obviously worked out, and Jason is
It was
just
so
the
funny,
GOAT.
you know.
I think it poses a big question as we move towards Lotus as well, because Lotus is traditionally a raise map, right? And we know how great Jing's raise is. So is Jing gonna, he's been flexing, he played Teo, he played Omen, is he gonna go back to his raise roots for Lotus?
I mean,
Bang
PRX
Bang
is
को देख के मैं
the
भी बहुत
double
मत
duelist
कर
comp for
Summer.
the longest time. This is
Not
Forsaken on
He's
that
doing it
Sky.
because
They've
he
gone
wants
into
to
a
stay
little
away.
bit of new
And
meta
he's
mixing in
having
the Vice. I mean,
और
this
उसकी
is
चाय
still the
में
core of
शक्कर
a
नहीं
very
होती.
popular comp
Good
right
होता है,
now.
ठीक है, वो
And I
सभी
think
की है,
they're able
ठीक
to
है.
play the Sky just
कम
simply
होता है, दो
instead of
चम्मच.
the fade
Like
single
5,
unit
4,
that you
5
see
cups
over on the
उसमें
side
सब
of,
दो चम्मच.
well, not on the side of DRX, but other teams that play single unit do prefer the fade. But you get a lot more of that fact finding, you get a lot more of that info finding with the Jet and just being aggressive and bullying your way onto those lines and getting aggressive around the map. But for DRX, they love this fade Teo, they love this double init. They can mix in whether they're playing the Viper, which didn't go so well for Flashback, then they played
What
the
round
Vice,
he
which
was singing
also he
him?
kind of struggled a
Kapish
little
bhai
bit on. This
uske,
hasn't been a fantastic map for him, so
कौन
we'll
से?
see what we're
एक
going to
reel
get
अभी
from
viral
DRX
हुई
on
थी,
this
उसमें
map in
शायद नहीं
particular,
upload
because
किसी
Lotus
ने
has
की
been
थी. मैं
kind of a hit or miss one for them,
कैसे
but for
भेजूं?
PRX, they're going to have
अब तो
fond
अच्छा
memories
क्यों
of Lotus.
fan
They
में भी नहीं
smashed Zeta on this map, and that was the map where I was like, okay, PRX lost that close game, but we're all good, right? They just smashed Zeta Division. Surely they're going to make a run through the rest of the lower bracket. That's what everyone was thinking on that last Lotus game. That's not what ended up happening, unfortunately.
Even before kickoff, Paper X has
In live he sang,
historically
but
smashed on Lotus.
Oh.
So they have figured out a formula
The
that generally
real
works, and
unblockable.
usually it's a double
मैंने
duelist of
tweet
some
देखा था.
sort. So I do wonder if they are going to stick to that same formula, but it also just, the
Well,
Kings
he's
of
a big
Chaos,
sister.
this is not their way. I
Binks
expect
sister.
something to be a little bit different here, going to Lotus, just, new things.
Even for
Maybe.
DRX, we didn't see it there because we're looking at the
Extra
kickoff
cute,
data, but they played a different comp again on Lotus over in Champs. They were playing like Yoru, Cypher, Breach kind of comp, which we've seen from a couple of teams, and we've seen that combo be very, very popular, and something that I remember I was talking to you before we even did kick off, and you were thinking Yoru was going to be very popular with Vice coming in, and this is a very popular Vice map, so maybe that was the thinking for DRX over at Masters.
Yeah, I think both these teams have space to get a little bit more experimental now into Lotus. Both, the whole way through this series, they've shown that neither team is afraid of changes here. So coming into Lotus, I think we have a lot.
वेट करो भाई ऋषि सर ने भी गाली दिया राइट वाले भी ऐसे
old
पता
Kings
नहीं
of
भाई
Pacific facing the new Kings of
भाई
Pacific.
पता नहीं भाई क्या
Find out
सीन
who
है
could
भाई
be
बहुत हिटर्स बढ़ गए भाई
the
मार्केट में
king to go against the T1 Kings of Pacific.
Little kings.
Either way,
Huh?
this is pretty.
क्या करूं चैट
Yeah, but when it comes to these two,
ऐसे
the
अपन
RXs,
बाद
the
मिलियन नहीं
balance,
पहुंच
we are
सकते
getting a
इतने
full
हिटर्स के साथ
3-mapper, a full series, and I have to say, we should expect nothing less. I know some of you were not expecting that.
बाय द वे मेरे को ऐसा दिखाई दिया है कि लास्ट वीक मेरा स्ट्रीम 300 लोगों ने शेयर किया ये जो बाकी 2700 लोग जो देख रहे हैं हाँ नहीं देखना चाहते हो यार एक भाई की सक्सेस स्टोरी नहीं देखना चाहते हो रोड टू 10 मिलियन रोड टू डायमंड बटन रोड टू प्लैट डायमंड बटन एक को शेयर करो और उसको बोलो ना 2 को शेयर करने देखा है कि नहीं सलमान बॉय की मूवी नहीं बोल दिया फिर ठीक है
Icebox, Jing staying on the Omen with Breach Teo
पहले
as
नहीं
this
बोलते इतना
supportive
स्पीच नहीं
pair.
देता
So
मैं
it's going to be very active. It's going to be dumping util with sending Waylay in a lot like that Icebox, and we saw it work for them there. So I think they're trying to carry that across stylistically.
Again, Freeing's on the Cypher. So this seems to be the new
Pyramid
gear of
scheme.
DRX. Double duelist, flashback goes on to
भाई
the
मैं
secondary
मजाक
duelist to
भाई
make
मजाक से हटकर जब मैं कॉलेज में था ना कॉलेज में था एक ना एक स्टूडेंट था जो वो प्रोग्राम में जाता था पता है स्कैम वाला कि एक काम कर 500 रुपये दे और इसमें एनरोल हो जा और फिर तू 2-3 जन को लेके आ जो लोग 500 रुपये देगा तो तेरे को उसमें से तेरे को 500 और मिलेगा तो जो तूने एनरोल किया है उसका तेरे को रिटर्न वैसा सब मैं सीधा ऐसा देखे तू जा रे हाँ
Start things off already quick into the game.
कॉलेज के टाइम पे
DRX on the
ऐसे ऐसे
attack.
स्कैम्स
A little bit
चलते
of
थे ना
rubble also a little bit of pillars.
Yeah, well, one thing right now is just the jewels at the front of the B site, and there's a lot of Paper X members here at the moment, and they are going to successfully win that one.
I know, a big old flash as well, Komodo, and that's going to be now Freeing trying to hang back.
Yeah, but look at what Flashback's able to do. Find some space over at the side of rubble. Meanwhile, Freeing is going to dodge out that drone too. So does that give you a false sense of security? Repositions around the map currently for Paper X, more towards the C side of things, and with that damage done in towards the breakable door, that's gotta let you know that you gotta get away from this A side, or rather get over towards it.
All quick and heavy-handed as well. You know, trade protocols.
Hey, that's some bunny up place right there.
And that leaves numbers disadvantage for DRX, even though Flashback has gotten in towards the back of A side, especially towards drop. Actually, into a deep position like that, do you reckon that they might be able to do something against Paper X?
It's a 2 versus 4. You've got to get a little bit aggressive in this one to try and find some advantage or equalization. Goes up there to try and find the kills, but for one, spotting info on the rest means that for Marco, this has to be a big clutch.
Has done it before. Starts out with a bit of a paranoia to flush them into his own smoke. Look at that. Right click through. And now just 2 players on the other end. Ooh, a good little flick, but Jing hits his own as well onto his new role. You know, maybe not quite the utility, but the sharpshooting definitely still true and sound on Jing.
Oh, one in the end for Paper X. They started up well with a lot of those jewels as well, and DRX just dodging a bit of that key utility. Maybe if they doubled down over towards the C site little endeavor that we do see there from Bane, it could have gone a little different way. But all the information spotted on out. Divide getting active nice and earlier on this Tejo role as well. We're talking about these players. We're talking about new roles coming into stage 1. Are we going to see these sort of agents align with these players? Look, maybe 3 different agents today for Flashback. I mean, I'm looking towards him on the Yoru, really try and find some space on this map to be a pivotal member to propel DRX in. But in a round such as this one, where Hyunmin has gone for a buy-up on towards an Outlaw, you have to see him do something.
That's right. Oh, it's something that Forsaken has done before, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? The Outlaw, just to try to work against your opponents who might
something
have light
has
shields.
Forsaken done
You're absolutely
before,
right as well. You know, Flashback previously was now onto the Yoru, so DRX, same composition, but some of the players on different roles. We'll see how that all settles in as they kind of jiggle on towards rubble.
There you go. Shut out from Hyunmin on towards Forsaken, so Bane's money so far working a treat. But you've got this time to be bought from the toxic screen, and that's just going to block out operator shots as well. Right? It's going to be one of the powerful things that Paper X can try and play with. When that toxic screen is up, when it's down, they can sneak operators behind the line.
Fair and true enough, but at the same time, you know, even with that little bit of a fall, Paper X continues to drone outwards. I was thinking maybe something continues to push on through from pillars, but yes, C is completely open now.
Yeah, but they're going to still try and go towards A, and that is where majority of these members of Paper X are. 30 seconds to go. That's a marathon to go over towards this C side, but they're going to start to do that. At least get enough time to try and get the plant and establish it. They've picked up the weapons that are on the floor.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Komodo. I mean, might be a marathon, but even as you just trigger that door a little bit, it keeps Paper X on the A site. Paper X are thinking, we've got guns, we need to work around this. So they are still trying to stack towards this A site, but unbeknownst to them, now it's a 3-on-4. Now it's weapons in the hands of DRX.
And this is one of those weird scenarios as well as Paper X. Do you just consider the save at the moment because it's lesser, you know, numbers to go for this retake, where 3 guns are now in possession that have been noted over at DRX's side, and you've got really no big entryway in towards the retake too. No drones. You got what, something with a judge? Yeah, he could try and set you up with a stun or a flash, and Jin can maybe try and get in, or Divide can, but it just is really difficult. So really well done from DRX to get this lighter eco round come out from them. And on the flip side for PRX in this scenario, the anti-eco, yeah, a little bit lopsided.
Not the way you want to start. It sucks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Nothing else that I could say. It sucks for Paper X, but just a masterclass at how DRX was able to work this around. Right? Using Forsaken's own play against him. The Outlaw. Sudden angle, and he takes the player down. And also for, what was it, Mako around C Mount? Like slow creeped up with that right click. That was nasty.
Free gun, by the way. But finding the right timing, right? I got to say, Marco's lurks on Icebox as well as Haven have been absolutely impeccable. So it's great to see that he's still carrying that around on this map where where if you're playing towards the C site, right, you're not having a proper sentinel as for Paper X, so you kind of do want to go for a little bit of these peaks here and there. And unfortunately, you're going to have to maybe reel that in a little bit now for Mindfreak.
Yeah.
maybe
you just don't hug the wall too much. There's all these things to think about, but at the same time, you know, we've mentioned some of these plays. You do have the Waylay on the hands of Forsaken, and he's gonna dive all the way through. Doesn't spot anything out, does have the smoke to support him, but at the same time, DRX reads that, and it's a quick flood into the B site. That was a mouthful. Now, on the other side of the smoke, the Prowler sent through. Binks completely reads it, and he's able to spray and gun down every single player from Paper Rex, the only one left. Mindfreak spotted up at the move, but it's gonna be the spray from him this time, and DRX will make quick work of the round.
Yep, all good from them. I do like the little cheeky bait and switch over at that dark cover in the breakable room though, right? When the Prowler goes over towards it, invites the player towards the right, player towards the left is the one to swing at immediately to catch him off guard. Well done from Bane, however, though, to just get some individual shots to come out here as well to get towards that Nightfall too. So that's going to be available for round number 4 after a bit of a topsy-turvy start for these guys over on Paper X. But now you're going to go into the standard 1-on-3 for them that they've got the weaponry. Jing's still down on. More importantly, this is the round for Paper X to try and equalize. And they find the opening kill.
Yeah, quick in with the unlock. Away from flashback, so just a bit of information. The smoke's out to control A as well, but with that, DRX are keeping some of the Paper X players closer towards the A site. Now they start to extend their legs.
Information secured as well. There's still players lurking around rubble, and you kind of have to give this maybe a little bit of respect. Freeing using both of these cages too. You still have Jing playing on top of rubble. You know, generally it'll be cleared out from some utility from Bane, but they're looking to renegotiate the situation here at the moment. Spreading around towards front of pillars. Forsaken's just playing with fire at the moment. Willing his head to fall off.
Or at least just helping to conceal Jing's positioning. So in with that, you know, forcing DRX to trade util for util. The Paranoia gets sent through as well. Refract recalled by Forsaken in towards a safer spot. But here we go, a Nightfall out from Bane. And at the same time, he's just lurking, hovering around the B site. He does spot one player out, and that's going to be the Vi that falls. And then he has to try to regress in towards the A position. But that's where they get gunned down. The Paper X defensive setup is sound.
Yeah, the Nightfall as well actually hits Jing, so a little bit of a misread on the positions of the Paper X members there, I feel like, for DRX. Marco just shrouded stepping straight in towards his death at the moment. No one else was able to really get a great trade to find any sort of sense of a round opportunity there. So well done for Paper X at the end. These are the sort of rounds that you want to see from them on these defensive sides if you're looking to see some good Valorant in this composition at the moment, and how a Waylay will be incorporated as well. You see the early aggression towards rubble. You know, usually you see these breach Taeho combos currently in the meta, but for a Waylay, you can get the saturate out as well, or just individually go for the shots. This time, however, Quack, by himself, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, you do need a little bit more support. Fortunately, the timing on the refract not quite in hand. Paper X, though, with a bit of a, what is this, a 3-1-1 split? They're pushing all the way out C. Sure, that could work out, but they're relegating A over onto DRX.
Yeah, they're going to have a quick retake here towards the A side if they wanted, or rather a quick flank, and now the jig is up. They know bringing it down for the count. Something here, though, has gone unnoted for the time.
Still just to try to keep himself hidden out towards stairs. His team will regroup.
That's shaky. That actually allowed something to get in towards the dark cover and buy some more time for the rest of the team to start to get over here for the retake.
Oh, okay. Flashback does get back in towards Tree. Still holding the position. Armageddon sent through by Divine, but it's not going to help out all too much. Not quite, as DRX continues to hold just the choke points out around Heaven. The shots out from DRX still being able to push DRX back where they come from.
Yeah, everybody knew what angle they needed to hold there when the plant was down for DRX. So, no one faltering at that moment too. So really heads up play from them. Not going too aggressive when they realize the priority is just going to be protecting that spike, right? They know where the retakes are going to be coming from, essentially stairs or from Heaven, and they just act accordingly. Really well done. On a round that actually could have been quite damaging for them. Had something found some right timing in towards a cut-off from the tree explosion. Now, in towards the Yika rounds come out from Paper X, and they're going to go for a potential dual fight up through C, up through mid.
Doing a thing.
Off with just the pistols. I mean, trying to surprise DRX at the very least. Something we'll be able to find something with the sheriff that he has. Still though, DRX instantly recognize that and flood the A site.
Yeah, this is where things could get problematic if we see some individual heroics come out from Forsaken.
Don't know if that's gonna come in hand though. He does have the Vandal. One away from the convergent paths.
Oh.
Mind Freak will be able to push on through, and that's going to be an instant sheriff shot being found. Tree being trapped open and goes in with a paranoia as well. But oh, look at that. Counter paranoia coming up from Mako, as well as Bane to hold the position. Mako swings back around on the other end as well, and that's 2 kills. DRX will not go down without a fight.
Yeah, Bane's been pretty good in how he's navigating a couple of these multi-frags here as well, and just helping out with this standard utility at the beginning of the round. That's exactly what you want from a Bane on this map, where you've opted for that instead of the breach, which is starting to become more common of a pick as well.
Prime DRX का यार last time दिलाया था, अभी भी दिला रहा है.
Too much from Paper X, apart from the opening kills there. Everyone a little bit, untradeable. But this is the important thing. These are the rounds where you can play with. I mentioned the Viper's toxic screen a little bit earlier on over towards the B&A side of the map. Usually can play good operator plays behind it, but for the beginning stage of this round at the moment, operator's looking at the wrong spot. Mind Freak gets traded out. That's a C site open for the taking for DRX.
Yeah, timing on the refract not quite there once again as well. That's something we're going to watch out for. And in with the C's, it's going to be something that gets tagged up. The next player to fall, the dominoes, they just keep going. Flashback off to another kill up around Waterfall, and that's just Devi left alone and cold. The Prowler just seeking his position as well. I mean, this guy's got to hang back.
Yeah. That's just the cascading stumble on the back of that one, unfortunately. When you lose Forsaken and Mind Freak gets traded out, you got some awkward shots from the rest of the team that need to dig deep to try and get you back in towards this round. It's just too quick to try and figure out there, unfortunately, for Paper X and for Devi. Just trying to see if you can take this weapon in towards the next round. You're quite the ways away from your own ultimate too. So the priority is going to be to hold the gun, see what damage you can do in towards the next round. And conversely, I mean, I'm looking at DRX here, Quack, and I'm seeing them swimming in cash at the moment. So they are really good for a couple of gun rounds, and that poses a bit of a problem for Paper X if they're not able to figure out the beginning stages of these rounds to get themselves an opening frag and reset, like what they were doing over on Icebox, for example.
I am quite fond of Scrooge McDuck. So
आज easy का मैच है, 10 का मैच है और 100 Thieves का मैच है. Absolute cinema, baby.
And it is. So a conversation to be had for Paper X. What's been working for them so far,
Good
right?
bola इसका तो
Having this waylay, again, it plays very differently to the common meta that we're starting to see. And even then, DRX aren't playing the common meta technically that we're seeing, right? They do have options where they can go for like C's and nade combos, but we're not really seeing that too much from them at the moment because there's been not enough pressure from Paper X at the chokes to do that.
Yeah, they've been trying to work off some early waylay plays, but so far just getting punished straight up by DRX, especially with how they've been spreading all across, whether it's C or A, just continuing to keep Paper X at bay.
Well, let's see if this timeout is going to be very impactful for the side of Paper X, or if DRX are just finding some really good momentum on this attacking side and exactly what they need to do in their layering and their progressions around the map. Big old stack from Paper X over towards this A side of things.
1-4.
Yeah.
Mind Freak can drop the Viper's pit if he gets a little bit sweaty.
Yeah, it's a 1-4 on the other side as well, though, Komodo, so Mind Freak gonna need good sensing for what's on the other side of C really quickly. He's just gonna use the poison cloud for now. As he heads on right back in. Flashback just clearing everything out, so it definitely is going to be heading towards a bit more of a retake setup from Paper X.
Yep. And it should as well. You've got the convergent pass, but I'm really liking this from Flashback. Getting up and dirty with a judge as well is going to be a scary thing.
Yeah, it forces you to just spend a bit of utility or something, anything possible, just to reclaim a bit more space. So Paper X, that's what they're looking for right now. Hence, a couple players up around Mount. DRX knows that though, and Fleeing just marks their backs. DRX continues to hold them further off, and now it's going to be Mako blocking off Waterfall as well. Even with the ultimates, PaperX can't quite get in position until Forsaken finds this one frag off the other side of the doors. However, Flashback has snuck on through as well. A bit of a shot with the Sheriff. Showstopper in at the hands of Hyunmin, and now Jing comes back in. Time not on PaperX's side, and Flashback just plays it safe, hangs away from the shadows just to hold on to that rifle. PaperX kind of in dire straits, Komodo.
Yeah, quite late on that rotation through towards the A site and the flank as well, and unfortunately the fact that the kill goes over towards the freeing and he's able to just use the hat to get all the information. Things go from bad to worse. A 5 versus 3, looking a little bit sticky towards the tailor end of that, but again, you got to just think that the spike is ticking away way too far at the end of it, and the investment of those ults at the end there kind of for naught, bar saving the gun as you mentioned for Jing, and you look at what they're going in towards this new round with. Lots of light shield, a Guardian in the mix as well. They need to cut a couple of corners to be able to get in towards a round such as this, and that is a great haunt to come on out to provide Flashback the opener.
Yeah, quick sprays all the way. Now a flash instantly in towards the other end of tree. Something just trying to refill that space, but at the same time, there's just so much being done by DRX so far.
Yeah, and I mean, this is only going to be a 1v3 setup for PaperX, where you've got the pit over towards C, and you're just going to forget about that as DRX. You're just going to sniff around the A site and what you can do. Flashback does get taken out, though, by Jing, so we do equalize for the moment.
Oh, straight back into the door. That smoke, it just blocks off so much and allows for Hyunmin to walk away with the kill. If that pit falls, that's going to be trouble for the C side as well, so Mindfreak just still trying to hover around it. But as soon as that kill goes off, PaperX starts to get a read that DRX is rotating off to the only other part of the map, and that's going to be the east side. As that happens, Mako into a bit of an off angle, does force a bit of a trade. Jing might be able to find it, but instantly finds the position right back against PaperX.
And another lone member forced to capitulate for PaperX now. See if he can take another weapon in towards the next round. It really stumbles in the beginning, doesn't it? When Forsaken loses his life first, it's just really quick to come out for the rest of DRX and how they get the rest of that round. A couple of trades to come on through, overwhelming force in towards A. You have freeing, sleuth in towards the B side. Hey guys, come over here. We got a free site. Let's just play the round to the numbers, and well, now they'll be winning out this half no matter what.
And that's just been the pattern for like the past 3 or 4 rounds. We constantly see Forsaken trying to initiate something, possibly, you know, alongside ARC, but he keeps getting gunned down.
And by himself as well is a really interesting thing too, because a lot of the successes when you look towards a map like Lotus is combining a lot of your utility for challenges, right? If you're going to the bread and butter, you're looking for utils over towards rubber, right? You're getting stuns, you're getting volleys, you're looking for the contest, you're generally getting a Shrouded Step Omen or even a raise to get towards top of rubble. We've seen that toyed with like once. DRX are kind of given a little bit of free reign over the A side. As I actually say that, this actually looks like PaperX are going to do what we're hoping for.
Then in the then I was laying down and I was counting down the hours.
Once again, DRX find the opening pick.
And even a little how do you do towards another member pinged on out, position revealed.
Hey, frame drop.
Frame drop hai, ruko.
Okay, Mindfreak just
round
towards Mount. You do have something ready with Thunder on the other end of B, but not too much at work for information on the ends of PRX. The clone instantly sent out, and that throws something off. Forsaken though, trying to work around Baby Door, but he gets gunned down as well. 2 players remaining. That's Mindfreak and Jing trying to work along opposite ends of the map.
Yeah. Individually, I mean, if they're able to find another kill or 2 apiece, that would give them the shift to the rounds.
Gunman. And that will be extra information for DRX as well. This is what they get to do. Finding the spike this early on. Mindfreak though, snuck in towards the back. Instantly alerts 2 players from DRX. A bit of a high-low, and it's too much for him to handle. All that's left is just
this one, unfortunately, and head for the hills to take the gun in towards the next round. Rex.
Yeah, the second time that he's done this so far in the map.
Refresh, buddy, refresh.
He's not even going to be able to hold that gun for the next round. Oh, not great for PaperX, Komodo.
No, not at all. And now you're finally going to be forced into a little bit of an eco round 2, right? Or you force and try and hope for a win here, and you're 8-4 in the half. Best effort. I'm looking towards the util again over at this A rubble, and it just feels like they're trying to do the util to command respect, and they're not doing anything on the back of it. You're caught in no man's land, trying to reposition yourself, and Flashback is just getting ahead of it. He's been really sensational for a couple of these opening frags set up as well by Bane's utility, for example, or you're getting Freeing's util in there, the camera and the cages to provide a little bit of forward momentum. It really is looking good for DRX, and just seeing what weaknesses mid-round and early round in the map itself right now that PRX are exposing.
I hear what you're saying. You know, it really is kind of that show of force to try to keep DRX away, but DRX, recognizing what PaperX are trying to do, they are able to just walk in and disrespect whatever PaperX set up, and with that, you know, it's often DRX finding that opening pick. So that's problem that needs to be solved, hence the timeout now being called. Both timeouts being used, being spent in this first half. What do you reckon PaperX are going to try to fix this time?
Well, they have to do it on the back of whatever has just been discussed here, and then what they can find in a switch-up, really, because you're taking the time out here. You really are playing on the back of, we're winning these next 2 rounds, we're getting the pistol rounds and maybe a bonus, and then we're back in towards the map. We've done it before, technically already in the series, right? But this feels a little bit different now to the last
in terms of the rounds as well, a 1-1-3 split instead of 1-4. And maybe safer positions being held this time. So Forsaken alongside Jing, something into its baby door as well.
Now as PaperX, you do have control of rubble at the moment, but 9 times out of 10, you can see some good re-clearing with a composition like DRX are playing. You've still got 2 Prowlers as Bane, you've still got a clone if you want to throw that out.
Drone as well, though, and that allows for Forsaken to push out. They're looking to try to find Flashback, possibly, but even with the aftershock, Flashback, outlawed hand, he's able to work alongside his teammates. Kills off all the way across the map, even outside C site. PaperX are down in the dirt.
Yep, there's a gap that he can just play around in that pillar position as well, and then he's even got teammates close by to bail him out or trade him out, right? So it really feels like DRX have these contingency plans at the moment, and when you do shift into something, he gets 1, you trade him out, it's 9-2. So timeout, you wish you had it in your back pocket still now.
Last round in the half.
And you really are forced to wonder, right? You start things off on a map like Lotus, you need to get that early space. Everything that you're attempting gets thrown away by DRX. It just can't feel good, you know. Even with a timeout, I just imagine maybe just use the halftime pause to get your heads back screwed on.
Yeah, I mean, you just really need to get one from the other at the moment, because you're not even treading water. You're really drowning, essentially, as PaperX here. You do fashion yourself something of a buy-in towards this last round at the moment, but Freeing finds Jing by himself over at Rubble with no trade. You've got Flashback just to clear all of the C site, and then the team can just plant to their heart's content and set themselves up for a pretty strong post-plant. Though, I will admit, something and Forsaken's ults could actually upset things.
Hopefully, possibly, already starting things off with the Nightfall as well from DRX. PaperX all towards Waterfall. The Rolling Thunder gets collapsed through. Hyunmin, though, still able to find a shot nonetheless, and now swings off the other end of that pillar as well. A second kill, another one from Freeing, and now Flashback from behind on just the Sheriff. DRX will close this first half with a 10-2.
I swear, sometimes, Quack, stuns in this game are very cosmetic, because Hyunmin is rolling thundered, and he's just finding a waylay, dashing on in, and taking off their head. So, yeah, really, really heads up from beginning to the end of this round as well. Even from Freeing, right? Opening things up with the kill, and then getting a little bit of a backstab from a lurk in through towards the B side here. It feels like Lotus's game plan of PaperX is just on the back of DRX's hand here. They just look at that and they know what's going on.
It's just incredible how Hyunmin is still able to land that shot against Forsaken, no matter.
Nice one.
So there it is now, halftime. I really have to wonder, even on round 11, PaperX, you know, that was the one off of Alex's timeout. They had a bit of a set plan. They were trying to pinch on the Flashback. But even with all of those utilities being sent through, maybe it's a bit of marksmanship, but they weren't able to execute that strat to the way that they envisioned it.
Well,
that's just not, you know, a good mental spot to be in.
It's also all of the consecutive rounds that DRX did have. They were rounds where there were different game plans a lot of the time from Paper Rex as well. So they're figuring out in these rounds what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and just adjusting things within the midst of the round. Even when they lose an opening kill, they're just adjusting quite nicely. And again, you got to remember, pistol round is the round that Paper Rex found. So it wasn't even that they got the 2 rounds as gun rounds, right? They were in a weaker sort of state too.
Yeah, that's just really, really tough. DRX being able to read Paper Rex to a T, you know, like you mentioned, with the strengths and the weaknesses, they know how to work against this composition. That's just a tough spot, but you really got to pull yourself back into this game, especially after this little halftime break. Yep. Can Paper Rex bring us to an even scoreline, or will DRX close it out quick?
Yeah, well, you got to remember, it all starts in a pistol round, and it can certainly steam from there. But will it?
Will it? For now, we can say for sure at least DRX
You think
playing
मैंने सही choice था?
Smokes outside of A and Paper Rex
देखो जब तक try नहीं करोगे ना तो तुम मालूम नहीं पड़ेगा कि
with
क्या
that refract and this
चीज work कर
dash
रहा है
as
क्या
well,
चीज
and it
नहीं कर
allows
रहा
for
है.
Divide to actually sneak on
देख
through.
attack अगर
Forsaken
attack में
double
चालू
back
तो ये
in
देखते तो
off of
तुम
that
लोग
little
बोलते थे वो
smoke,
पैंच
and
वेले क्या
that's
मस्त
3
है.
kills already for Paper Rex.
समझ रहे हो?
Yeah, nicely done to open up this C-side as
ये
well.
लोग
I feel a little bit
PRX
hard
में
done
ना
by for
एकदम
the DRX
जिसके
members there, 'cause they're just on the
वाला
ledges, and it
attack
moves
वाला
them
है.
up just ever so slightly, and they have to readjust their aim, and they're not able to
Defense
in the middle of the
थोड़ा सा.
fight. But this is looking to be a sensational pistol to come out from Paper Rex. It's going to be flawless
देखो.
at the end of it for them as well. So, I mean, you're talking about, you know, as mundane as it is,
देखो.
how to get back into a map. The pistol round is what you need.
It really is. I mean, mundane or not, that is the very situation that we have in our hands, especially for all the Paper X fans out there. And we know for sure that there are quite the number of Paper X fans as well. You know, 60 to 40 were the predicted odds earlier on, as mentioned on the desk. But still, DRX, they are very close to map and series point. Starting things off now, Paint Shells looking to control Rubble.
Nice.
And this is what I'm talking about. Util combos to come on through as well, but what affords you a difference is Waylay being able to get in front of it, and then when you do get a little bit overwhelmed, you can refract out. Meanwhile, the rest of your team, they get in front of this utility because it expires as well, and they can just start to scale up and play to the better weaponry here, Quack.
Yeah, a bit of positions being spotted out as well, thanks to the earlier utility being dropped, but what? Oh my goodness, the classics!
Okay.
They're still finding the shots. Paper X at least
नसीब.
getting to stabilize.
Hey, read it, yeah. W, one round at a time, one round at a
Almost
time,
got
one
out
round
of
at a time.
hand, Komodo.
Yeah, sometimes you got to wonder, a PRX giving DRX a bit of a way in, a bit of an option here, but no, it was
Only
one of those times
firepower
where you got to put a little bit of the stack, and
really
you
rubber
just have
as
to
a
contend with the
patient
utility
PRX
and then the shenanigans
तो
that do bring you.
8-0
Well
पहले
done,
मैच
Paper
में
X. They
कैसे
do
किया
not drop the secondary round.
तो
unlike the first
9-3
half,
down
despite the
से
Classics getting the damage
जीते
in this
कैसे
one, and
second
now you
map?
shift in towards a round where
तो
it's
अभी
bonus
कैसे
riding,
कमबैक
right?
कर रही है
But again,
पता
you
मेरे
can't
बाइक
win this
तेरे
one
मुंह
as
में है
Paper X. So
पता
what differences are you actually looking to do? What
पता
are you looking to play on towards the strengths of? And it's got to be Forsaken to get dirty in towards these fights again. Playing on towards a shotgun here, missing the first shot though.
अभी मत बता रुक जा
Can't refract out, unfortunately.
And that's what it is. Paper X, with a way, the style in which they're playing, a lot of it relies on the entries. And when it looks a little bit shaky like that, you just got to imagine something psychological. Nonetheless, though, with that chaos being ensued, they do get the B site, they do get the spike down. And with that, Mind Freak watching the back as well.
Can be a little bit claustrophobic staying in the B site though, so for Paper
आराम
X,
से अभी
they
दोस्ती
have
more
a
करना है
little bit of a peek in towards C-Link here.
Okay.
Funny, yeah,
Might be
Binks.
able to find that stack
हाँ
up to
बता ना ये ले माइक
Mind Freak, as I mentioned, has control over pillars, and with that as well, a possible angle into the spike. He does have
Missed Molly.
a bit of, yeah, I was gonna say the poison cloud, but still, at least the salvos come back in from Jing, or from Devi at least. But still, that DRX continues to flat forward. Ooh, just trying to keep him at bay. Something low HP, but has to land the headshot. Free and crouches underneath the crosshairs and gets the job done. That's gonna be the defuse. DRX up to 11.
Yeah, good work on at least getting it defused halfway when you see that snake spike come on in and it misses its mark a little bit. I start to get a little bit worried, but Device sending in the salvos brings a little bit of time. Unfortunate at the end there for Paper X, because the game plan actually, despite losing the first kill, it goes nicely, right? They got the space in towards the B, they get the plant, they take a little bit more forward space. The Haunt though, again, Bane, I keep saying, his utility has been so impactful with that Haunt and with the Prowlers as well in this map so far. There have been some really great for openings and for closings here.
Just utterly effective. especially with how the entire team has
मेरा
been
mic
playing
आपके
in
मुंह पे
as
बोले
well.
कुछ मत
Now the
करो
1-4
यार
split for DRX, just a bit of rebel control. Quick back through the doors into the B site. Prowler towards pillars as well, and they do retrieve the information that they need against Paper X.
Even though DRX as well here, Quack, win the previous rounds, not afforded enough to go in with a full buy. So it's the Hyunmin show potentially here, getting a showstopper online. You can shuffle weaponry up as well and maybe steal away a gun from Paper X if they do decide to end things here in this B site.
Okay, fault line in along with light speed dashes. And it just baits that showstopper out from Hyunmin. So it's not going to be able to fire that off into anything effective, possibly. And that's the effectiveness of the Waylay. Still, though, does it open a door up for Paper X into a site?
Information on the little shoulder spot. Got a call for your teammates to start to get some rotations over, because these pistols, I mean, you need to be in close proximity with crossfires to do damage.
And with that, the flash and the
blue blind, baby.
Through. Forsaken, though, off alongside the smokes. He's able to find 3, but Hyunmin finds his own as well. The Phantom picked up.
Yeah!
That's going to be Mind Freak and the buy to stabilize for Paper Rex, bringing the score up to an even 5.
Yeah, keeping DRX off of map point and series point for the opening of stage 1 here as well. So if you can continue to go in with that, you're kind of ripe and ready for some good damage in this next round, especially, right? You've got it online, you've got the convergent pass as well. These are going to be good laneable items to get in towards the site or to hold off a potential retake. But it really does begin at the very beginning of a round as well. These early controls that we're starting to see attempted over at Rubble.
क्योंकि मेरे को सिर्फ
Valorant
Valorant
पसंद है. DRX want to do the exact same thing. So
I love
flashing
Valorant.
out over towards flashback. It's a bit too much too. Recognizing the drone would leave him isolated. Unfortunately for Freeing, first casualty. So this is going to be Paper X getting him towards this C site.
For the first time in a long while, but very welcome one indeed. So possibly Spike planted now. Meanwhile, for DRX to reclaim a bit more space, they do have to watch out for B though, because something is lurking in the shadows.
They might see these ultimates used if there's a retake starting to look a bit successful for DRX. A kill quickly might have been good for them, but just denied for now. And that might actually be it, yeah. You can't get back into this one, unfortunately, with time and recognizing all of the bodies here. If you were able to bait out an Armageddon or a Convergent Pass, I think you'd be quite happy with the turnout, even if you lose the round. But the fact that PRX are kind of finding one kill and the space in towards it, and that's all to get the 6th round, you'd be a little bit worried for DRX if these are the sort of turnouts for the next couple.
It's little with a capital L though, Komodo.
Correct, yeah. Just a little slightly.
I know. Even then, you know, as long as DRX gets to build up towards some ultimates, they can be looking at a very effective...
Yeah, there could definitely just be one explosive round to come out from DRX, and if you're a Paper X where you're losing a couple of members in the next couple of rounds here and there, and you're not managing your economy nicely, it could get the 12th and then the 13th map is done. So you're going to try and call this a little bit early as DRX here. You've saved 4 weapons as well, right? You lose one member, you call it, all right, we're going for a timeout, we're going to stop any momentum start to be built up by Paper X.
As well as to keep the guys locked in. DRX needing to stay focused all the way towards the end of the map. It is one away from that series point. But at the same time, you know, if they start to lose focus, that's where Paper X gets to build it back up. And as we have seen, that previous round was instantly done when Freeing fell outside of C. So tiny things like that.
Yeah, it's quite the important one here as well. So it's good to see that there's you know, a lot of engagement in these cameras at the moment too. As I say that, it switches to what's looking like a little bit of silence.
Well, that's not true. You know, the camera's a little bit clipped. We can't see CHUMMI, you know, wagging his tongue a little bit. So a little bit unfortunate, but nonetheless, you can definitely bet there is quite a bit of coach intervention. And we're just wondering what the change up is going to be. Still very much is controlling the C site. I mean, that's what the site does. As well as A and B, though.
Yeah, maybe you're looking to go back towards some Viper fundamentals, Paper X in a round such as this as well, and up and down in that wall over towards A. You're not seeing anything too forward from DRX there, but speaking of forward, Paper X straight up through pillars in towards the front of B, so they've got some options to go for a bit of a C split if they want to quite nicely. Always pivot back towards A if they want because of the lurk that'll come in from Mind Freak, but you're ulting in towards this C side at the moment, spotting some information if you can. Oh, Refract's timing is actually out, so Forsaken is stuck here, has to hold it through as Hyunmin falls.
Yeah, he did throw out the stun, does find Freeing, and there it is, into the B side as well, as the ult does its job of throwing a wrench in the plans of how DRX wanted to operate across the map. Just Mako now. Spots up towards the back though, and that's Forsaken gone. Smoke back in. He goes onto a bit of a tap. Plays around the edge. The snake bite not quite burning at his feet.
Yeah.
Goes for the reload though, and that's the second ultimate being baited out from Paper Rex. Mako, I think he's done his job. Whether or not he wins the round, he's gotten effective utility away from Paper Rex.
Oh,
now just looking for a possible kill or two. And there it is, the first one. Salvo off, and he walks right into it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no stalling power to come out from Paper X with those two members in the Divide and Mind Freak staying alive. Snake's Bite firstly, Armageddon as well to a 4-time for the salvos, so it becomes really difficult in a situation like that. Forsaken though, you know, to find a C opener, and it's all a bit of a bait as well to remove the members over at the B site to get a plant in there. You do like that idea that there's still enough cooking for Paper X to make a good meal here.
Certainly very much could be 4 rounds away from equalizing the score, as well as something back onto the Rolling Thunder. But as I say that, DRX has some ultimates of their own as well. Granted, not the most effective ones.
4 members, though, to take this rubble control at the moment. And Mind Freak, if he does lose his life, that's a Vandal that's going to be pilferable at the moment. So, yeah, they're going to steal that one away. But maybe not, actually, because there's an immediate presence back for Paper X. So, now they have to try and win around at a 4 versus 5 conversion. And if we look towards the previous maps in this series, how many times have they actually managed to do this over on Icebox, Quack?
Yeah, quite a bit, especially with DRX up on 16 first kills. Yeah. That said, though, it is a very different map. Similar composition possibly, but
Vishal bhai jana nahi.
A lot of it under control now. Forsaken looks to pull the attention away. Unfortunately, instantly tapped down by Mako. 3 players remaining, Komodo, and they look to flood into the B site. They might get the spike down, but look at Flashback in with the dimensional drift, holding on to possibly the clone. He doesn't have any more flashes.
He got all the information on the positions.
And that's exactly what he was looking for with his team. Rolling Thunder from something, though, just kind of luring them into the site, but unfortunately, they don't quite get stunned up by it. And with that now, Divide has to pull something out of the hat. Doesn't have utility anymore as well. Just sprays on through, but reloads to be damned. It's going to be Freeing, sticking the defuse all the way in. DRX have found series point.
And that's the problem for Paper X now, that they don't have any more breathing room to make mistakes, and that's on the back of such a sensational first half that comes out from DRX. All it takes is these opening kills and then an idea of how to remain, you know, present in this B side at the tail end of this round. That's why I got to give so much credit and recognition to Flashback. Dimensional drift, but not with the intention of popping out and getting a kill. You're spotting all of the information on where your opponents are repositioning to let your teammates fine-tune how they need to get on the defuse, get the remaining kills, and that's exactly what worked wonders for DRX. Now, 5 rounds difference.
वैसे अगर आपने $2000 दिया
and they are looking to set themselves up for quite the quick C play. Oh, that's a missed Poison Cloud high in the sky.
Okay,
because Shimmery
fast into the site at least, but look at this site. I mean, Forsaken couldn't see a single thing on his screen. Everything all blocked off. Now something on a bit of lurk, spotted out by Hyunmin as well. The site being reclaimed by DRX as Mako picks up the double. Looks to hold the position outside the door, in with a showstopper as well, and an unsuspecting Divide gets blown up. Final score of the map, 13-7. Final score of the series, 2-1 in favor of DRX.
Yeah, the Pacific Princes from kickoff here, continuing with some victory, disregarding result overseas in Masters, of course, Quack. But yeah, you want an opening start in stage 1 in this group of A. Yeah, it's not bad. It takes you 3 maps. We see some interesting comps, I'll say the least, to come on through here. And we see some, you know, resilience to come through from Paper X. I really got to give credit and respect to them trying to rebuild through this 2 months that they had off. Changing roles is always going to be a complicated scenario to try and work your way through. But there's definitely some promise.
Very much so. working alongside meta compositions. None of these scores, by the way, were 13-0s or 13-1s. They were rather contested, so that's lovely to say at the very least, hopefully inspiring some fans.
इसी के साथ अभी गेम चालू होगा PRX वर्सेस DRX, ठीक है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली मेरे को अभी जाना पड़ेगा, 1-2 घंटे का थोड़ा रेस्ट लेता हूँ, 7 बजे और काम है, ठीक है। तो मिलते हैं रात के स्ट्रीम पे गाइस, दैट इज इट। PRX वर्सेस DRX आप देख सकते हो ऑफिशियल चैनल पे। बाय गाइस, बाय, आदियोस, शेडिमेप आदियोस, दैट इज इट फॉर टुडे। रात को मिलते हैं, लव यू, टेक केयर, सी या। Even after much experience and watch party, why can't you make a good team? Excuse me. 369 का बात कर रहे हैं तो लोग चले जाते हैं फंड्स की वजह से, और SC12 का बात कर रहे हैं तो SC12 इम्प्रूव करेगा। मतलब वहाँ के ये सब प्लेयर्स तो नहीं आएंगे ना यहाँ पे। VCT के प्लेयर्स तो रिवर्स गेयर में नहीं आएंगे कि यहाँ पे खेलता हूँ फिर जीत के वापस VCT जाता हूँ, समझ रहे हो? तो आपका क्वेश्चन थोड़ा सा कैजुअल है। एक सेकेंड।
Their win against PRX. Wow, you turned that Haven 8-win streak around, and then you closed out the deal. And today we met at a pre-show interview, and you said you're gonna have some fun.
Yeah.
How does having that fun feel?
बस देखते हैं ना, मतलब क्या क्या क्वेश्चंस पूछा जाएगा। ठीक है, चलो बाय बाय गाइस, बाय बाय, श्रिया बाय 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 बाय, चटको।
But when